Hello, welcome in everybody. Welcome to the day the Balance Dataslate drops. We have on stream and live with you today. We've got Andrew Bourbon up at the top. Hello, Andrew. And
Hey.
we've also got Tom Leighton, two friends of mine who are massive tournament players.
Some of us are more than others now.
So
I've been a bit lean recently, but
we're going to have a flick through the Balance Dataslate, and we're going to give you our live reaction. We haven't had a look through a lot of it, so it's going to be a lot of reacting and seeing how we go. So, oh dear, what are you expecting from this? Are you excited for it?
Who would you like to go first, Chris?
Tom, go for it.
Yeah.
What do we think needs to be changed and
sure
tweaked?
There's a lot. I'm sure there's a lot in here that I haven't come across yet. Obviously, I've seen bits as we've been coming in. Some of it boggles my mind, but we'll be going through it and reacting to it all individually. Obviously, I love my Eldar, but I think Eldar have come off on this reasonably well. I mean, I've seen memes for about a week of how Eldar are going to get battered, but I think
have they dodged it?
Yeah, we'll get to who's taking the brunt of the hammer for us at some point quite soon. But there's a lot of poor Space Marine players out there.
Andrew, any initial thoughts?
yeah. Well, as someone who plays a lot of Town Grey Knights, I now get a lot more Town Grey Knights in my army.
Thank goodness for that on Grey Knights, by the way, because I love my Grey Knights too.
I love my Grey Knights. I've been assembling my Grey Knights. So
at least about 200 points too expensive. Yeah. I've always had tricks, but we're just a little bit too expensive. So now it's a case of can we actually put a list together now? You know what I mean?
Yeah, they haven't gone down the route of let's make them do more damage, but you just get more stuff. I've just never.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting. Okay, so I'm going to flick through, go straight through the Dataslate article here first. So the highlights that they're talking about, which are obviously the ones that they want to draw attention to, is devastating wounds no longer cause mortal wounds, but instead bypass armor saves and invuns. Weapons with this ability can still put out plenty of damage, but it arrives in a single chunk. A change which makes devastating wounds more situational, which should have a significant impact on the power of Eldari in particular. For example, you cannot now shoot an infantry unit with an anti-tank weapon and wipe out the entire squad. Simply, this doesn't... so the damage doesn't now roll over, and you don't do 12 mortal wounds to a unit. So
I mean, this was the issue, in that you take your big anti-tank gun and you turn it around and turn it into a horde-killing laser of death.
Yes.
Just like sweeping it across the field. And it's like, I mean, while it might look cool, it's just it causes problems by making a lot of weapons too versatile and also consistently peaking their damage.
Yeah. Andrew, I think Andrew has maybe just frozen, so we'll have to wait for him to come back. But I mean, that's one of the issues of having a massive anti-tank weapon that you can, as I was saying, wipe out some smaller units quite easily. So that's a good change. We like that. It's no longer splashing mortals around everywhere.
It doesn't change, so it changes things into a couple of matchups for Eldar, but like, for example, Eldar versus Custodes, it doesn't really change too much because you weren't really trying to proc the mortal wounds anyway.
Okay.
Because you get a 4+ feel no pain against those. What you were doing is you were saving your fate dice until after someone had failed an invulnerable save, and then using the fate dice to guarantee the number of wounds, so you can automatically kill Custodes, and also bypass that feel no pain. Whereas now it's just you might actually see it be more useful into Custodes because those devastating wounds are actually bypassing the invulnerable save.
Yes, that's true.
You're not supposed to feel no pain anyway. So this actually is a slight buff to the Eldar and the Custodes matchup, but obviously in everything else it's slightly worse.
So harsher restrictions are now in place for reusing and discounting your stratagems as well. So you need line of sight when activating Overwatch stratagem. So no longer twitching and firing, which is good.
Yeah.
And then meaning no more indirect fire Overwatch. Also great. Titanic.
I mean, it's still the line of sight thing doesn't matter too much necessarily because it's generally you're starting or ending a move within a certain distance line of sight of something nearby that you want to shoot, right? But it does make a difference for things that like indirect fire.
Yep.
So for example, if you're talking Eldar again, you're talking B platforms, if you're talking your Night Spinners.
Yep.
Both of which are really, really useful because if you, I need to check the interaction of a Night Spinner, but it does reduce your movement. I don't know if you can do that with Overwatch. I don't think you can. But the decannon is pretty important, especially considering what we're going to talk about with Overwatch in a second with Titanic units.
Yeah, and Titanic units, as Tom insinuated there, can't use it at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can now hide from the gaze of towering models behind ruins, provided the unit doesn't move up to the next ruin to see over them. Okay, so that's the towing in. So you can now tow into your ruins with towering. I think that's the only way you can now see over them.
So, it's important to clarify like the exact wording on the rule, because obviously with terrain it's a bit of a mess anyway. But if we go into it, I believe the wording now is you can see, if you have towering, you can see over terrain that you're touching. Now, normally that's not a massive issue because you're a big model, you can generally see over bits of terrain like that anyway, right? But when you're playing on things like Glasshammer ruins or WTC ruins, which are these massive L's, much like this entire FAQ, it's quite useful for that. But otherwise, it's very. I'm glad they've changed this about towering. I do like this.
Yes, yeah. So the rule here, I've just kind of flicked over to the rule here. So models can see into this terrain feature normally, and models that are wholly within this terrain feature can see out of it normally. Towering models that are within this terrain feature can also see out of it normally. So you're no longer being able to see into terrain pieces which are 20 inches away.
Don't ignore all the terrain on the board.
Yeah, yeah.
Effectively.
So nice change on that one. It's towering of Andrew. Are you back? No, Andrew's just dropped off again. That's a shame. We'll get some input from Andrew, I'm sure, very, very soon. So many factions also see changes to their army and detachment abilities. Gene Stealer cults are no longer infinite. Their units must now make a dice roll to return, including battle line units. So that's definitely a good change. Playing with 3,000 points of Gene Stealer cult was incredibly difficult.
Yeah, I feel with Gene Stealer cult, they were always a good faction and their win rate was very good. But I think we were seeing over the last couple of weeks a lot of players pivoting into handling Gene Stealer cult and building lists specifically that could deal with them.
Yeah,
now,
I think that came out of WTC a little bit, didn't it?
A little
that was
bit,
the tech.
I mean, obviously, you get most of the world's best players in a room together, and you end up
figuring something out. Yeah,
you end up figuring something out. I mean, I've been at the parties, a lot of them, but
yes, Andrew.
Yeah, so quite a few of the WTC players, they went in with the aim of stifling GSC.
Yes, because they were the two top armies, weren't they?
But also, I think the WTC FAQs did a lot to take the edge off things that aren't. For example, in UKTC tournaments, the rulings are almost directly opposite. So I think there is also quite a bit of power variation based on tournament-specific FAQs for GSC.
I mean,
yes,
definitely.
There always has been with these. I mean, we used to have ITC and ETC FAQs going out at different times. We used to have lots of mission practices and new phenomenon. But you got back in over the last couple of months. I mean, the two big dogs were Eldar and GSC over the first month or so with the win rates. And that was what was like you expect to see on the top tables.
Yeah.
The difference between Eldar and GSC is that you don't really tech for Eldar.
No, and I think Gene Stealer cult was more focused on like a lot of the teams were focusing on teching against it, right? It was an easier one to tech into, and then also not subsequently damage your impact into other matchups as well. So
right. I mean, Gene Stealer cult don't really have a sticky power outside of the aberrants, right? So you can still push them around the board, whereas the Eldar just removes you. So it's
literally.
We're always going to be coming down in win rate, I think. Anyway, I don't know if the nerf is necessarily necessary because I think that's a fantastic example of the player base figuring something out, and you don't need the long arm of the law to come in and deal with it for you.
Yeah.
But obviously these things are written in advance, and also.
Yes. I think it's a good change, though. That's a good change. I don't know whether they've touched any of the characters, like Primer Spam, whether that's going to be still being able to have 3 or not. We don't know, but we'll see. Imperial Knights have been outperforming Chaos Knights. So now, I'm really sorry about this, Andrew. So now only the Armiger Squires and Imperial Knight armies benefit from Bondsman abilities. Oh! Andrew, over to you. Oh, he's frozen again. It's probably a good thing that he's frozen at this point. Oh dear. Tom, what do you think?
I'm going to preface this by saying I don't think Imperial Knight should ever be a competitive faction in 40k.
Yeah.
Nor should care. I think they're bad for the game, just in general as a faction. But that said, I think a lot of the changes that have been made to Imperial Knights over the last month or so have been driven by a desire for comp and not necessarily a desire to be accurate to the intention of the rule. For example, saying that you can only reroll one roll of a 1 when you're rerolling is... that's definitely driven by a motivation to comp, right?
Yeah. Andrew,
now
welcome
taking
back.
It's like
Yeah.
just at the right time as well. We were just talking about Imperial Knights, Armiger Squires.
this is all you, buddy.
Don't
This is
get
all
them.
you.
Go for it.
I agree with Tom. Knights are bad for the game, and I haven't enjoyed playing Knights for a long time now. And but they have been absolutely slapped into the ground here.
Good.
And which I think is a good thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I do wonder whether Chaos Knights not performing as well as Imperial Knights.
It's
Maybe
not a
having
good
look at the Chaos
justification,
Knights
is it?
might have been a good.
Yeah, it's like.
I mean, what they've done is just. It's taken. I mean, it's taken. I think a lot of Knights players play Knights because they love the models. They like playing the big models.
Yep.
And they've just made the big models even harder to use. So
Yeah.
I just think it's a bit sad, but
It's
one of
those,
I don't think Knights players mind Knights not being good. But when you're making it so that you're actually punching yourself in the face to use them, it gets a bit much.
With Knights, either your numbers are too high and you end up rolling over your opponent because they can't kill you in time.
Yeah,
or
it's
your
an
numbers are
absolute
too
stat
low and
check,
you just
isn't
get
it?
rolled over, and it's just not a game. I have similar issues with Tau and Admech actually. Although Admech, I think, have got some redeeming qualities. Maybe even Tau, if you start reworking the book to include more of the allies that they have within their empire. But with Imperial Knights, if you are at the end where Knights just get rolled over all the time, at least the people who are on the receiving end of that are the people who are choosing to take the Knights because they like the faction.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they are the ultimate stat check army, aren't they? But I do kind of wish that they would purely an ally contingent sort of thing. I think that would fit a little bit better. I don't. It's. But yeah, no longer. At least Armigers. I think Armigers have gone up in points as well. Is that right?
Yeah, they
A little.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get to that when we get to the actual rules in a second. Though.
Yeah. So on the buffing end of things, here we go. So we've got 3 armies that they're talking about here that they've given a little bit of a tweak to.
When you finish, please.
So Death Guard get a whole new aura ability which you can choose and tailor to your opponent. Now I really like this. Leagues of Votan, meanwhile, get a boost to judgment tokens. Yeah, I'll talk about Votan in a second. And then Admech have reinforced their armour on their Skitarii foot soldiers. Do any of you want to dive in quickly about this one?
So the issue with Death Guard isn't necessarily a points issue. Obviously, we're not talking about points here, and they've had no new ability to it. And I don't think they necessarily need new abilities. I think they just need abilities.
They need to do something, don't they?
They need to do something. I wrote a blog post on this a month or so ago because I went to a tournament. It's 2 days. I took Imperial Knights. 3-0 on day 1. I just thought, this is boring for me and it's boring for everyone else because they'd beaten the guys who were at the top, and I was obviously paring down a little bit because it wasn't a massive event. But the organizer happened to have a Death Guard army that he had ready in case he needed to be a ringer. So I said to him, look, can I please play the Death Guard day 2? And I spent my night studying the book and learning about it and reading the rules. And I thought, okay, so this rule says a lot of things, but in practice on the table it doesn't
do anything.
No, so
you've got to jump through so many hoops to try and get their detachments. Anyway, so they've had a lovely change. So
let me just one of the things that they had was like you can heal an friendly infantry character, and I'm like, at what point have you got an infantry character that is covered in wounds? And why is it within 3 inches of this guy? That's just like one example, but there's a lot of stuff in there which I'm just convinced was never play tested. Because if it was, they'd have seen it and say, "Oh, I didn't actually get to use 90% of the rules in the book."
Yeah.
Because although they actually function, they aren't illegal. They just don't do anything on the tabletop.
Well, I think they almost require your opponent to actively want you to have them.
Yes.
That's very toxic.
Yeah. I'm going to stand on this objective with only one model so that you can shoot me with a better bit. Yeah. Anyway. Some powerful units have had their numbers capped, so one straight out of this one, Desolation Marines can only be in a unit of 5 now, and Exaction Squads in 10.
I've got to talk about Votan.
Oh, Votan, yes, go for it.
Everyone's called me mental in the WhatsApp groups. Right? I think Votan could be good.
So they had a ballistic skill change, didn't they? So they went from everything being a 3+ to everything now being a 4+, with no judgment tokens.
Skill. I'm not necessarily fussed about the judgment tokens. They have got massive points drops. I mean massive.
But now with the judgment tokens being thrown around, they've also got a ballistic skill buff as well.
I don't care about the damage, but this is the thing.
Oh, okay.
Do you remember? I mean, it wasn't that long ago, but you remember in 2018 the Plague Bearer build, where you just take 120 Plague Bearers in a factory, and you just run them at your opponent.
Yep.
I wouldn't be surprised to see people trying that with Votan.
Just
And
half-kin warriors.
Yeah. Obviously, it's a stat check list, right? So I need to see it played, and people need to try it. But I reckon people will try it, and I reckon with the increase in points to everything else, and the decreases to Votan, and the increase in bodies that you can get on the board. Obviously, I'm saying this on a YouTube video, so but it could be good. I'm not certain yet.
Put it out there. There he is. It's official. Tom Leighton, the Votan are going to be good.
The man who has not played a game of Warhammer since last Worlds in 2022, or barely played.
No, we've had some similar chats in groups I'm in, and think that Votan are a big winner.
I think of these three, I think Votan are probably the only one that I'm interested in seeing.
We'll see how they come out of this one.
It is a bit of a shame that it looks a bit hoardy.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, just buy more Votan.
It's a shame, but yeah, like.
Yeah, I don't.
10 points. 11 points a model for.
Wow. I don't sort of agree that Votan should be a horde army, but we'll see where it goes.
No, but if the rules lead you there.
Yeah, totally.
Totally.
Same with Grey Knights. If Grey Knight ends up being like strike squad spam, then so be it.
I don't think it can, but we'll see.
Okay, so cause. Oh, was there? There were Desolations.
We could talk about that in the core rules.
Yeah. I thought that was fair enough to kind of skip on to. So the data slate, the actual balanced data slate. So these are rules changes within factions and obviously core rule changes as well. So the core rule changes, the big one is devastating wounds that we've kind of spoken about already. Andrew, do you want to dive in on this one? Because I think you were just off reconnecting while we were talking about the devastating wounds. But now each time an attack is made with a weapon, no saving throw of every. You don't know why it's been changed.
I don't know why it's spitting me out every now and then. The call just seems to drop out the call change, so I just go back in again.
That's all right.
Yeah, the devastating wounds change I think is good.
Yes.
Mostly. Because it stops those units that are good at doing things they shouldn't be good at doing from being good at doing those things.
Into things that they shouldn't be doing them to.
That too, yeah. I think from that, this is one of the ones that actually has a sort of degree of. There is a degree of design thought that's gone into it on this one. I actually don't think this is a bad change.
Yeah,
no, I agree.
Personally, I think there are some potential concerns around units that do large numbers of devastating wounds through rate of fire rather than weight of fire, if that makes sense.
Yes.
But there's not that much that I think that generates dev wounds in that kind of a way. I don't know, maybe Sternguard can do it, but
did Chaos Space Marines do it a little bit as well?
Yeah, CSM a bit. I think CSM are a bit scary actually.
Yeah, CSM are really good.
Yeah, but in general, I think it should do what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
I mean, there's an interesting question as to whether you need this mechanic at all.
Yes.
But if you're going to try and stick with the mechanic, which this early into an edition, you're probably going to want to. I think this seems a reasonable change.
Yes, I think for the majority of rules, I think Games Workshop are happy with the rule being there. I think they're trying as much as they can to not change it too much. But yeah, I think this is a good change. I think taking it away from the mortal wound so that it doesn't splash over is definitely good. For the high damage weapons like the Wraith Knight.
Which is interesting. I think it's interesting that there's effectively no feel, no pain equivalent or anything for it. You know, you are taking devastating wounds.
No saving throw of any kind, including vulnerable saves. Such attacks are only calculated. So it doesn't say anything about feel no pain. Is feel no pain classed as a save?
From mortals. Sorry.
From mortals.
Defense. A lot of units now have.
Yes, true. Yes.
Feel no pain is specifically against mortals, so you're losing that.
You're losing that
layer of defense that you
would
have
talked about that a little bit.
So it is.
Yeah.
So Custodies really being the big one there.
So I think this is ultimately.
Grey Knights hanging out with Draco.
Ultimately, I think this is one of the big kind of hits on Eldar as well. So this is kind of addressing a lot of the damage of the Wraith Knight.
We'll talk about Eldar in a bit when we get to this section. Because
Yes.
I think Eldar are absolutely fine.
Yes. Yes. So stratagems, modifying a stratagem CP cost. There's no changes on that one. Is that right?
Nope. No, that's correct.
Yep, that's right. The Calidus Assassin
Just-
Reign of Confusion.
No, Chris, there is.
Oh, go on.
Chris, I think that the thing here is that it clarifies it that a Calidus can only put up the cost of a battle tactic stratagem, doesn't it? Because it's
That's the thing, but that's not in
In
red.
example
So
two.
I assumed it was always a previous thing.
yeah, it isn't in red, but when you look at the it's a new rule, isn't it?
Rules that modify the
Because it's not
CP cost of a
it's not a change
stratagem,
to a rule.
but it does
It's not a
not.
change to a rule. It's a completely new rule.
It
which is why I think
doesn't
it's
really
quite red.
matter. That's the thing, but I would have assumed they'd have put that in red, but it doesn't really matter. That's the state of play right now, right? So it's one of those.
Stratagems that can be used one the same. So firing Overwatch is the next one that has got the red on it, and it's basically like you don't. It's now at the end, isn't it? So it's once everything has moved, and then the other restriction is that Titanic units can't use stratagem, so you can't Overwatch with Canis Rex anymore.
What a silly unit. Dear. Insane Bravery got some changes as well, right, Chris? It's pretty big.
It did. Battle shock step of your command phase just before you take a battle shock test from your
You
unit.
can't do it afterwards anymore.
Yep, you can't fail it and then do it afterwards. So it has to be proactive, if you like, rather than rolling to see if you need to use it, which I like because,
They can make a choice.
like, I don't even think Insane Bravery should even be there because battle shock is so little, has so little effect on the game as it is. I like as soon as you fail a battle shock test, I think
You
it
say
needs to
that,
stick.
I think battle shock is still pretty impactful
Yep.
in lots of ways. Denying someone the ability to use a stratagem. You know, I think you're going to see. I've even seen games where Harlequin's shooting, making people take 5-6 battle shock tests, and then not being able to use defensive. There's various things that go on.
Yes,
not being
that's
able to
true.
hold an object. I think it can be.
But those kind of
out
things
of-
you
out
couldn't
of
use
the
Insane Bravery
battle
for
shock
before
test,
anyway.
You couldn't use it for anyway. You can use it for anyway, but I still think it's a meaningful. I think this will make it much more meaningful.
Right. Okay.
Because the command phase, the times you take it in your command phase, you do get critical things. I've lost 3 games this edition to failing a battle shock test. So I think it's.
How many
It's
games have you played this
How many
edition
people
so
say
far, Andrew?
He's played lots. Played lots.
Yeah, played a lot of 10. Yeah. So
Good to say, that's
I've lost
a lot of games.
So that's going to be interesting when you've got like 3 critical units that you really want to pass the Insane Bravery. Like, which one are you going to use a stratagem on before rolling?
And it only makes it feel even more meaningless when you can just say, actually, that thing that just happened, I've decided it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Anything that changes an event after it's happened, I don't really like.
Yeah.
And so I think this is good.
Yeah, command point reroll. Anyway, so the last one, we touched on this one before as well. So the Ruins of Visibility section is towering models now only ignore terrain that they are kind of touching, which is cool.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah,
There's not much else to say
absolutely
about
fine.
that, really.
Yeah, there's nothing else to say.
Yeah.
Right, faction rules. Here we go. We get some fun stuff now. Okay, Custodes. Do either of you play Custodes? I know Andrew's got a few of them.
Everyone can play Custodians.
Everybody can play Custodes.
It's not hard.
Okay, so Unwavering Sentinels stratagem type. So change to Epic D stratagem. So this is one that's kind of going through a lot of the changes. When you can use when you can use a stratagem for free, when you can use a stratagem for free, it's now being changed to an Epic D stratagem. So you've got a specific type of stratagem that you can able to use.
Yeah.
I think
I mean-
we can paraphrase this to Unwavering Sentinels can no longer be free.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, basically. Good change.
It didn't really
Yeah.
matter. Okay.
Yeah,
Fine.
it's not particularly impactful. You still keep the command point for it.
Yeah, not first.
Less feel bad.
Yes, true.
Maybe.
Data sheet changes, custodian guard and custodian wardens.
Sorry, Chris. I
Yeah,
think
go
it
for
also
it.
means it can't be used twice.
Ah, that's very true. Yes, because it's yes, even if it's being
it
used.
lets you do it for free and then do it again.
Yeah. So
because
you
can't
pay
do
it
for free once. It can't be used twice. So I think it probably is slightly impactful.
but good still. Yeah, so Custodian Guard and Custodian Wardens are now limited to 5 units of 5 rather than units of 10, and then the Virtus Praetors are units of 3.
And Wardens have increased their minimum size up to 4 as well.
Oh yes, 4. Yes,
Yeah.
minimum size 4 to 5. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Peace.
Oh, okay. I hadn't
Yeah.
spotted that one. Okay, so no minimum size of 3, wasn't it?
Was it lower, actually?
Was it 3 or
I
2?
can't check.
You could run individual.
Yeah, I thought you
I
could
think you
run
might
with
be able to
1.
run individuals.
Yeah.
Oh yes, of course you could, couldn't you? Yeah, it was 1 2. There we go. So changes on the size. So this is effectively it's giving you less room for damage on and efficiency on some of your larger units, so you can't kind of stack stratagems and stack damage onto one large unit of Custodian Guard or Custodian Wardens.
And then with Wardens again, I genuinely think we're going to move to an MSU kind of edition anyway.
Mhm.
Like I think MSU is probably the best way to go. Anyway.
I kind of like that though.
Eldar kind of throw a bit of a turn on the work for the farce here, but having a minimum squad of 4 is just another limited custodians because you don't have to pay for these bigger squads, rather than being able to run a few units.
It's also way more fun
MSU.
as a player to
Yep.
run MSU custodies. It's considerably considerably more enjoyable than running the
Big bricks.
the bricks.
Yeah.
And the bricks are pretty oppressive because they're just so hard
It's
to
like
shoot
running
through.
knights at that point, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's better all round.
Yeah, you're kind of moving away from stat check stuff.
Yeah, I just think MSU would.
I like MSU. I think MSU is more fun anyway, just in general. Okay, so AdMech. Oh dear, yeah, we can skip over that. They get a save. They get a save. Congrats, well done.
Nobody cares.
Eldari. Now these are the sweeping changes to the Eldari faction.
Oh, this faction's in the bin, mate.
They've got one red word.
Away, boys. Done.
Oh dear, nobody's ever playing Eldar ever again because Phantasm, still the best stratagem in the game ever, can now only be used by an infantry unit.
That does have big implications for the Incarn specifically, but other than that, it's fine. It's not the end of the world really.
Yeah, you can't Phasm your
think
Incarn.
There was a good opportunity to patch the Incarn here in a different way to how they did it.
Mhm.
I saw obviously the fake leaks that came out, and I was a little bit concerned that they might be going for those, and I was like, oh goodness sake! But the way to deal with the Incarn wasn't necessarily to take away its unique mechanic, because the thing that makes it fun and interesting to use. I think the way to deal with the Incarn was to reduce its durability back again.
Mhm.
So, for example, change its 2-up save back to 3+, change Phantasm so you can't use it on the Incarn was one of those things that I wanted doing. Changing the half damage to -1 damage was a big thing as well. But so I'm disappointed that they didn't go down that route, but I think at least they've done something, right?
Yeah.
They could have reduced the durability and gut the mechanic. As long as
Yeah.
the mechanic's still there, I'm generally happy.
Well, yeah, but I mean, Phantasm as itself is still there, so you can still correct
But if you can't use it on the
yeah.
Incarn.
No.
I've used this to hijack it to talk about something I want to talk about.
You just love the Incarn. You love the
I just love
Incarn.
the
I think the Incarn's insane.
I've been
but
on
there's
the
no.
Incarn for 6 years through
there's
tough
no-
times and good
I
times.
don't think
you know?
there's any more kind of satisfying plays. Like everybody was coming up with like clever plays in which to get that charge with the Incarn, whereas now you don't have to. And there's all sorts of crazy things like charging two things on.
You stiuld can. Like you don't have
Oh,
to,
you-
which makes it's just a very forgiving piece for a piece that should
Yeah.
be a skill piece,
Yeah.
right? But you could still tell a good Incarn player because it was super oppressive.
Yeah. Have you played into Phantasm, Andrew?
Yeah,
I hope so.
Phantasm is miserable, and I'm glad that they have changed it.
I'm gonna check something, boys.
Go for it.
Have they
Okay.
changed it enough? I don't know.
Yeah, the only change. I mean, it's obviously been impacted by some of the core rules changes as well. So Eldar haven't kind of got away scot-free, and we'll get to the points as well in a minute.
Oh, I can still use fire and fade. I can shoot you with a flamer and then move, mate.
And then move anyway. So
at least you don't get to move your army and then me move out of line of sight or out of charge range.
Is fire and fade a full movement for
yeah, full move. Full move.
Full move, yeah, nice. It's a town, it's a full move.
But you can make a normal move, but you can't embark on a transport.
Yep.
You cannot use it on aircraft. There you go.
So you can kill something, and anyway, right. So Agents of the Imperium. Now these kind of changes. Now I like the kind of tweaks to things like Custodian Guard, like dropping them down to a max size of 4 and things like that.
You guys know what these words mean in this section, because I don't know what these mean.
What, the Agents of the Imperium bit? So, oh dear, the Exaction Squad.
Is a dog of some description.
The Exaction Squad. Basically, the Exaction Squad was 35 points for a 5-man unit that you could sit on your backfield for Imperium units, and now it's no longer a 5-man unit. It now has to be a 10-man unit.
So it's a Voidsman at Arms.
Well, yeah, now it's a Voidsman at Arms. Yeah, that was a Voidsman at Arms unit. So these are the kind of changes that I don't get. Like, why? Yeah. Anyway, so.
I mean, I'm just not qualified to comment because I don't know what it even is.
Now, I don't think Voidsman at Arms have an assault gun though, so they can't assault. They can't advance and then do like cleanse or anything like that.
Taking a rhino and then sounding objectives. But,
oh dear. Anyway, so yeah, Exaction Squad now probably not quite as essential as before. Right.
Pain.
Yeah. Yep.
And assault weapons.
Vigilance.
These are two things that are useful. But yeah.
All right.
Death Guard.
Here we go.
Do you want to read through the Death Guard one, Tom?
Okay. Well, I haven't read this before, so this will be fun. Right. Let's see if that actually does anything. During the declare battle formation step, select one of the sicknesses below. My goodness. Until the end of a battle, all units from your army with the Nurgle's gift ability gain the selected sickness. So that's most things. So this is like the Knight's kind of quest that they have, right? And that everything gets like a thing, right? But you have to select at the start of the game, right?
It feels a bit like the Tyranid one.
Oh, I haven't looked at the Tyranid one, but
the one from the index. So you kind of pick sustained or lethal and stuff like that.
I haven't looked at that either. Skullsworm Blight Aura. While an enemy unit is within contagion range of this unit, worsen the ballistic skill and weapon skill characteristics of weapons equipped by models in that enemy unit. 1. Okay, so the contagion range is like 1, 3, 6, 9 inches as the game goes on.
Yes.
Ballistic skill doesn't really matter at that point. Weapon skill might matter, but it's either going to be -1 to hit or it's going to be nothing. It depends upon weapon skill of the unit that's fighting you.
Yep.
So that's kind of like, and most of the time you're not dying to things that are close to you. You're dying to things that are far away or medium range. So that's kind of poo. Rattle joint aura. While an enemy unit is within contagion range, oh good, this again, of this unit, worsen the save characteristic of all that enemy. Okay, alright, okay, I quite like that one. That's okay, because actually it gives you something to do, because one of the issues with Death Guard is usually weren't able to do anything in terms of pushing people off things. So that's quite nice, I quite like that. And Scabrous Soul Rot aura. While an enemy is within contagion range, hooray.
Worsen the leadership in OC.
I mean, the OC isn't too bad. Like, but again, it's about getting up the board. Like, you should be able to get up the board and do stuff. I mean, it's fine. It's
fine. It's good. At least it does something.
Well, I mean, most of the time it doesn't because it's contagion range.
Well, it does something. It does something from like turn 3.
Yeah, but it's not based on the range expanding. It's based upon you getting up the board and hopefully not being dead yet.
Oh dear.
Oh man, like, okay, I'm glad they're getting a rule that potentially has some impact, but it's not.
I like the idea.
Yeah,
but it's kind of based on this contagion range again, which is so small in turn 1, and obviously you're under slowest army, so it's not going. You're not going to be moving that contagion range up the board very, very much to be able to get. It's another one of these detachment rules that you don't get to use.
Not necessarily slow. You just die on the way in. It's going to take you at least 2-3 turns to get in, depending on what opponent type. You can just spend 2-3 turns like sitting off as hard as you can, give them a center. You just know you're going to kill them. and then because you're playing 10 fed, you should have enough movement speed to get on the objectives afterwards anyway. So it's yeah.
With some points drops, maybe that will be kind of like a horde, and then come back from that.
Also, the one build the Death Guard like to use, which is the Plague Burst Crawlers around Mortarion, this does absolutely nothing for.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Moving on.
Deathwatch. Andrew, do you want to read through the Deathwatch one?
I might just TLDR it, which is your good ammo used to work on your good guns. Now it only works on your bad guns.
There we go. It is literally everything. All the ammo is now only bolt weapons.
That's
Lovely.
Crap.
Lovely. Oh dear. Bolt weapons. Bolt weapons are the following: Absolver, bolt pistol, assault. But yeah. Anyway.
I've already scrolled on, Chris.
Wow. So is that Deathwatch dead?
I mean, at least Nick got to use them at Worlds this year, which was.
Oh dear. That's an awful lot of bolt weapons. Look at all these bolt weapons you can use the ammunition with. Right. Cool ambush. We love you, Deathwatch. Really, I know. I don't like Deathwatch. They kill all my Necrons. They kill all my Necrons. I don't like them. Sorry, Nick. And so, hang on. Right. So, Deathwatch.
I think we're talking about different Nick, but it's alright.
I think we're probably talking about different Nicks, but yeah.
I think
If your army faction is Genestealer Cult, each time a unit with this ability is destroyed, roll 1d6, adding 1 to the result if it's battle line. And adding 1 to the result if it is the first or second battle round. On a 5+, a new unit, so on a 5+ now you can set up your unit. On a 4+, if it's a battle line unit, and on a 3+, if it's the first or second battle turn, and it's a battle line unit.
I haven't played as GSC yet, but that looks like it really hurts. I mean, I have a massive GSC collection, I just haven't used it.
I mean, you were coming back so easily before anyway. They haven't changed anything in terms of changing anything from the blip.
So before people worked out how to play against GSC, most GSC players who were being successful would say to you, to be honest, they don't need it. It's just a bonus that they come back.
Yep.
And that actually they do their damage on their first exposure based on the presence of the characters who boost the damage.
100%.
Is that in singles or in teams? Because I think there's a different dynamic.
Singles.
Yeah.
Singles, yeah.
I'm looking at it from a team's perspective in terms of you just constantly score in secondaries.
Yeah, team perspective. So Genestealer Cult, I think, are probably the biggest disparity between singles and team games. Because in teams, you're kind of speccing into and you're trying to tech into Genestealer Cult and then score and limit them to as many points as you can. Where in the singles, you're just trying to get one more point than your opponent.
Yeah, like, losing by 5 points.
They only averaged like 11.5 points or something in WTC this year. But I mean, that's another conversation. But...
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is to do with teching. I mean, obviously we talked about. Yeah. I mean, when you, I don't know how familiar you guys are with the pairings process, but you can very much like. You can pin down the Genestealer Cult.
Yes,
we've already talked about
that was the. I think that was a lot of the team's focus as well, wasn't it? Because it's like, what do you focus on? Do you focus on trying to pin down the Eldar, or do you focus on trying to pin down the Genestealer Cult, where it's easier to tech and pin down the GSC?
And you know, everyone's going to take GSC.
Yeah.
So it was, and then when you're coming at teams who aren't ready for that, and just threw some on Genestealer Cults, and then they come up against, you can now play against the Tyranids that are specifically ready for you. You can play against X or Y. I mean, I wasn't there this year, so I'm not familiar with matchups. But you're going to get pinned in. It's going to be a problem. So I think.
But I don't think it doesn't do anything to limit anything of the damage.
I think averaging 11.5 points when all the teams are attacking for you is really good. Which speaks of this mechanic in teams, right? Because you're just going to keep scoring, and also like if you're throwing them into something that's like horrific, like if you manage to get them into the Eldar and you're restricting the Eldar to like an 8 points, that's really good.
But arguably, I don't know what you think about this, Andrew. Arguably, I don't think the battle line units and other units coming back was the issue. I think it was more the damage that they were doing when they were coming.
Essentially, yeah. I mean, I've not played matches, but Andrew will know more.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it was already changed when you had to come back within range of the blip. When you could slide around from the blip.
Yes.
It was very different again. And again, some have ruled that you get the demo charges, some that you have. But I think fundamentally, I think it's probably a a fine change.
Yep.
Feels less bad.
Yep.
But also doesn't kneecap the army. So
Yeah. I'd have liked to have
the
seen
points changes might, but the rule
True.
change I think is fine.
I'd like to have seen a change to the number of characters that you can take. But then, like, I think this
They
whole
could have ended
10th
the original,
edition.
that wouldn't have been a
Yes.
bad choice.
Well, then you can't take the enhancements, but like some kind of rule of one there.
Well,
but like a Games Workshop, in
Ninth edition.
particular, in 10th edition, I think they've tried to let you play with all your toys, or as many as toys as you can. So I don't think they really want to limit stuff like that.
I think it's fine.
Atalan Jackal's Outriders set up wholly within 9 inches of the battlefield edge. Okay, that's fine. So Grey Knights have got that same change on the stratagem, so strategic ploy stratagem. So that's the user-free
basically
stratagem
means-
and use it twice.
Yeah, well, with the Grandmaster in Grey Knights, you get to use one stratagem free per game. So
Is that
it's
on
already
more
a lot worse than on the squad that he is leading.
Right.
So it's already got a lot more T's and C's than everyone else's version
Yes.
of said strat.
Yes. Yeah, once
and now
again.
there's just one less that you can use.
Yeah. Imperial
I think
Knights.
that's you can't be invisible basically.
That's you can't shoot. It's the stealth one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the kind of lone operative one, I think.
Yeah.
I can never remember the name of strats, but I think it's that one.
So the Imperial Knights have had. They've got very expensive stratagems. Valiant Last Stand has gone up to two command points, and Trophy Claim has gone up to 2 command points. However, like we said earlier, the armigers don't get. So the main models, the main knights, don't get bondsman abilities, so it's just the armigers, which sucks. Leagues of Votan. Now this, I dear, I don't know how much I want to talk about this one because the judgment tokens that they scatter, the Leagues of Votan scatter about the army, the enemy army, basically gives them +1 to hit, right? So now, rather than starting with fewer judgment tokens on enemy units, you're now starting with 4. So now you can just shoot 4 units with +1 to hit or +1 ballistic skill. Just sort the ballistic skill out. Like, just give them 3+ ballistic skill rather than 4+ ballistic skill, and then give them something more fun. I don't understand this, but
Wouldn't that cause it? So I'm not massively familiar with like the shooting of Leagues of Earth. If you were to give them a 3+ base, wouldn't that allow them to proc a 2+ with the limited judgment tokens that they have?
but then make the judgment tokens do something different. Like by giving them all judgment tokens, but like giving them this many judgment tokens that you can now scatter about, they're just basically ballistic skill 3 anyway.
Yeah. If you were to rework the entire judgment system, you could.
I don't get it. It's just I don't. This is one of the weird ones. Anyway, so yes, the changes of the Leagues of Votan, you now get more judgment tokens at the beginning of the battle. I think it used to be 2, and now on a strike force, so 2,000 point game, you now get 4 units that you can pick at the beginning of the battle and say you are judged, and I get +1 to hit against that unit. Andrew, have you got any interest in playing Votan? I know you like the little dwarf people.
No, I'm not really interested in playing them though. But no, I think the points are big for them, and I also get the sense they're trying to protect a bit the decisions they've made around Index to move into the Codex with something that looks very similar. And this is probably the best way of improving that mechanic that they've decided they want to commit to.
Yes.
So I think if you're under the proviso, you're not going to change the mechanic.
This kind of is the way of addressing it.
The points are going to be so impactful.
Yeah.
And you don't. And there are certain Votan shooting units you probably don't want running around hitting on 2s.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, very, very true. Yes, those 30. I can't remember which ones they are. But yeah, I think the kind of stubbornness not to change too many rules, I think, is pretty evident through all of this. We can skip the Space Marine one because it's down to 5 Desolation Marines. So I think.
Right. I think this is the worst change in the entire queue.
Oh, do you not like it?
200 points as well for 5.
I think it's appalling. So I was talking to a friend of mine. He described the Space Marine Codex really, really well. I'll just get you the exact quote because it was brilliant. Let me just see if we can get it for you.
While you get that, I'm just going to pull up the points.
Yeah, it's good. Where is it? Here we go. So my friend described Space Marines as literally 200 dogshit data sheets in a trench coat, holding the hands of a Desolation Marine and an apothecary with a bolt of discipline.
Oh dear.
And that's what it is. The entire
It is. No, it is.
Desolation Marines. And you just killed the unit. The unit is done. There's no point.
I think there's one fundamental issue with Space Marines, which we'll probably get to when we get to the actual Adeptus Astartes point, but I just think, yeah.
There's no depth
anyway.
in this book.
There's
you see when you Codex.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no depth. And you're reliant upon Desolation Marines to just carry the entire operation, and now that you can't take big squads, it's just like, well...
Okay. So,
you take a couple of ones, but the Codex is just done.
Points. Let's get to the points. So we've got Adeptus Sororitas as the first one up. I have here. I've got two files here. So I've got this is the new rules, the new points.
They changed the Exorcist again.
And then this is the old points. Hopefully they've changed the Exorcist to go down. Yes, they have. The Exorcist has gone down a point. Yes, 10 points down. Thank you very much. Right. Everything. It looks like everything has dropped. If anything here has gone up in points, I'm going to cry. It looks quickly. It looks like everything has gone down.
Everything's gone down 10 points.
Yeah,
pretty much. I mean,
so
the Magifier and the Pistol are down 5 because they're really cheap anyway.
I think they're still going to have an issue with damage, because I think the highest strength weapon in here, not counting a couple of the tanks, is strength 8. However, you can now get the Exorcist at 160 points, and where's Cassie? Castigator is 140, so that's gone down 10 points as well. So they're both down 10 points. Buh.
Yeah, most of the units are down by a certain percentage. It's
yeah,
like 10% decrease, 5% decrease.
Congrats, you can have another unit of Repentia? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how this one comes out. So you're basically just going to end up a little bit more of a horde.
Yeah, fine by me. Good old MSU.
If you can get another tank in there, then that would be cool. Like if you take your 2,000 point army from yesterday and it's dropped enough that you can get another Castigator in there, I think that would be fine. Mm-hmm. See how that one goes. Andrew, how do you think? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's done enough to make them have a place that's obvious. I think there are some people doing some interesting things with list design around Sisters at the moment. There's a few people trying to work them out.
Yes.
I think Sisters could be good. Not necessarily right now, but I think... you finished that, Andrew.
Yeah. So I was just going to say, I just agree with what I think you were about to say. I think that there is a way to make them work, and maybe these points changes let some of those jigsaw puzzles that don't quite...
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, coming back to the point I was making earlier about MSU being specifically good, I think there are certain factions that lend themselves very, very well to when MSU is a good way of playing the game. I think Sisters are one of them. I think Drakari is another one of those. And so if you can get Sisters to a point where you're happy with the balance that you've got, then I think Sisters could be really, really good. Yep. So it'll take a little bit of time just to work that out. But, I think in theory, Sisters could be a really good book.
So yeah, it looks like just kind of having a quick check. Like Repentia have gone down 10 points, so 65 points for 5 Repentia squad. How much are the Zephyrim? Zephyrim haven't actually changed. They're still 70 points.
Zephyrim, Penitent Engines are the only things that didn't change. The Death Cults and the Demonifuge. But
I mean, that's fine. Demonifuge is very, very good anyway for 80 points. Where's Celestine? Celestine dropped as well.
I believe so.
Where is Celestine?
Oh no, the Sacrosanct haven't dropped.
Saint Celestine, 135.
Yeah, 135. She got
down 15. Nice. Cool. Okay. Yeah, I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see what kind of armies can come out of Sisters now. I know Art of War are doing a writing Sisters video tomorrow, so we'll see what they come up with as well.
I mean, they'll just build an MSU list with lots of units of flying things.
Yeah, they'll spam some flying stuff.
Yeah.
Custodes. Oh wow. Oh my God, this is covered in red. Right, are these down or up?
Some have gone up, some have gone down. So, for example, the Virtus Praetors were in desperate need of a decrease because they were very, very squishy. So they are 10 points down to 80 points a model now. Obviously, the size of the squad is decreased.
Not enough.
3. Yeah. I mean, exactly. They still die too quickly. And if you go
80 points a model for a Virtus Praetor, Jesus.
Yeah, the only reason.
Yeah,
I
they
mean,
was
need
it before?
They need more wounds, more toughness, more damage, better guns. No.
you've got more of a reason to take them now than you did previously, but that's not because of Avertus Praetors. It's because you now can't take the individual wardens.
Right.
That's the issue, right? So, but if you want something that flies around the side and just gets you secondaries, then they're your thing. But they're still too expensive, and that's a problem.
Blade Champions are up 20.
No, you just go assassins. I think you probably just leave them out. Venerable Land Raiders are down as well, but they're Land Raiders, so you ignore those.
A lot of the troops seem to be around 5 points a model. Up.
Yeah.
Up.
Yeah.
Custodians,
Yeah, a lot of them seem to be
Alaris.
around that.
Yeah.
Trajan's up 15.
Yep. Good.
Yeah, get Trajan off the table.
Yeah.
Oh, hold up. Wait a minute. Have they removed a unit? Or have they added units?
No, they've got. It's because they've got the Custodian Guard. Have got so many different models in here, and then they just drop.
Page. Yeah. Okay. That's fine. Ares has moved page, not a problem. Alurus.
Oh, there's the Ares down. Oh no, it's not. Where's the Ares?
Yeah, and all the 10 model lines have disappeared.
Yes.
As well.
So you just end up with more space on the page.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's fine.
No changes to the enhancements or anything.
Oh, I tell you what, though. No, I think I was wrong about the Avertus Praetors, because, I mean, they still suck, and they always did, but I'm looking at the Venatari, mate. That's a hefty drop.
Where's the Venatari?
35 points for free. So they're literally the last.
Oh, Venatari Custodians.
Model, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh,
So they were 235 for free,
yeah.
and now they're 200 for free.
So they're the ones with the jump packs, aren't they? The winged.
They are.
Winged
Yeah.
forward ones.
Yeah, and you get an
They're
extra
a little
model.
squishy. But...
They are, but you've got an extra body compared to the Avertus Praetors. So I'm not saying they're a good unit. I'm saying that you need a role fulfilling, and if you have to compare the Avertus Praetors with these.
Yeah, 200 for 3.
Yeah.
Compared to the Wardens, which, 220 for 4.
Palace is still really cheap as well, aren't they? 120 points. Wow.
So this might just see kind of like a little bit of a shift around in some of the army building, particularly because you can't take the blocks anymore. So you might see a lot more kind of MSU, few more units on the board for Custodians, which is, like, as we were saying earlier, I think that's fun. That's a good way of doing it.
Does anyone know how big a Palace grav tank is? I'm looking at my Forge World store. And
Palace one is the smaller one.
Yeah, it is.
It's the kind of like
Diddly
diddly one.
Points. I'm like, all right. I mean, it almost costs more in pounds than it does in points. But besides that,
that must not actually drop though. 120.
Yeah, but I don't care, man. I don't care. I'm not looking at something and thinking, oh, it's been improved, therefore I should take it. I'm looking at it and thinking, oh, is it good or not, and does it fit the role that I need it to fulfill? So it's just, I kind of like those. Those are cute. That's like some proper pod racing shit. I love it. Right. All right. What do you think about Palace, Andrew?
I like them. I just think
like
that they, people just felt it was better to spend the points on infantry and just run them at people.
Yeah, I mean, there you go.
The
If you're going to do that and
Never
slack
they
off
were
the secondaries
bad.
entirely, and you're going to lean entirely into one condition of just like drowning people in and shiny golden boys, then it's fine.
And that's I think that's the choice people were making. I think it's another one of those classic, perfectly good model that people just choose to play a different way.
Yeah, but in fact, it depends whether that can achieve a win condition for you.
Yeah,
like,
and I think that's also the kind of the detriment of social media in terms of seeing what meta list is out there and just everybody kind of going in that direction rather than people playing around with the list and seeing what comes out. And that's another reason why I like these kind of points changes, because it does encourage people to fiddle.
I don't know if it does though, because it just encourages people to go online and find,
Yeah, maybe. If you are watching this, people, and you are just going to go in there and copying lists, don't fiddle. Have some fun.
But also, the most important thing is understanding why your list wins, right?
Yes.
You can copy anything off the internet.
Yeah.
But if you don't know why it wins, often you do because it's 40k and it's a really simple game. But the most important thing is understanding how your faction wins and how your list wins. And
What roles all the units need.
Well, I mean, just what you need to be achieving on the tabletop.
Yeah.
Right. Like just because some factions are simple. Like we talked about knights. You know what you need to do to win, but Anyway.
Okay, so AdMech. AdMech again covered in red. Andrew plays a lot of AdMech, or has played some AdMech. They don't look like they've had a lot of points drops. Like everything seems to be like 5 and 10 points. There's nothing that I can spot quite quickly.
Everything's just dropped a bit.
Yes, like Sakaran Infiltrators have dropped like 10 points.
It doesn't feel very strategic in why they've dropped.
Yeah, it's just everything.
We know that they're not very good. We don't really understand why.
Imagine that.
Down by a bit.
Cat from breaches have dropped 5 points. It's like
Archelopter Fusilier was dropped by 5 points.
yeah.
I mean, is that the
you must
play?
think, why bother?
Is that the play, Andrew? I mean,
Yeah,
the issue isn't the point. The issue is the playing rules are garbage.
Yes. Yeah.
The garbage, exactly. It's just a bit. Yeah, it's a bit.
They're not for purpose. I've got a shelf behind me.
Oh dear. Do you know what the detachment rule is, Tom?
As in, like, what detachment rules are, or what their specific.
What their detachment rule does? It's
Yeah.
it's on. So in your first battle round, the enemy gets to pick whether you want to take some mortal wounds or have everything in your army battle shocked.
Is it D
on the first turn? So what would you rather have? Some mortal wounds, or on the first turn you'll just be battle shocked?
It doesn't matter if I'm battle shocked on the first turn. I'm not staying for it, right?
Right. So yeah.
Right. Okay. I've got it.
The thing is, though, Chris, like,
It's
with
Death Guard again.
there are just so many. There are so many fundamental things that just don't work. Like, you've got roadblocks. You add the character that you're supposed to add, and then it gives them the infantry keyword, so that then they get pummeled by X, Y, and Z.
And the infantry.
There's just all sorts of
Synergies which don't work.
This is very Death Guardy. I feel like we could have a good matchup of Death Guard versus AdMech on who does the least to help their own.
I've watched a game. They just stood in the open shooting at each other for 5 turns and didn't do anything.
That sounds like Death Guard won that game, man.
Yeah, literally nothing happened.
Oh dear. Right, AdMech, congratulations! You get an extra unit. Hopefully it'll help you.
Titanicus. No, carry on.
Titanicus is nothing. Oh my word! No changes for Titanicus. Oh no! Right. So the next one is Agents of the Imperium, isn't it?
No, it's not.
No, it'd be Aldari. Chris, I've got to nip off for a work call, but it'll only be short. I'll jump back in again straight afterwards.
It's okay,
no worries.
The Eldar section, Anna, so
This will be.
You guys enjoy that.
This will be 20 minutes of Tom going. Wah! Okay, no worries. Catch you in a sec.
Right, so if we look at the
Enjoy those Reapers.
So if we look very quickly at the Eldar sheet here,
Yeah.
I don't want you to look at what's gone up in points. I want you to look at what hasn't changed. Okay? And ask yourself, how many of these units that haven't changed, if you were to take none of the units that increased in points, could you still make a good Eldar army?
I mean, easily.
You absolutely could.
It's so bad. Oh dear, hang on. I'm just sorting out your
No, it's fine. You're fine.
sorting out your camera while Andrew's gone. Yeah, go for it. So in terms of what hasn't changed, hit us. What's happening?
I mean, you look at the terror that is Baharov. I mean, he's just a menace on society. He shouldn't be allowed in any lists. Every time you see him since a couple of editions ago, he's just annoying. You've still got a lot of the Corsairs. You can ignore the Flyers, so the Crimson Hunters, fine. The Dire Avengers didn't change in points, which is hilarious. They're really good. Falcons are still fine. Fire Dragons are still fine. Guardian Defenders, I think they're a bit of a bait, but they're still fine. Banshees, fine. Yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of good stuff in this book, right? This is the thing. When we're talking about Marines being a load of crap data slates in a trench coat holding the hands of 2 really good data slates, Eldar are the opposite of that. They're just a codex full of depth. And especially even if you increase points, the nature of this book is that every unit is hyper specialized, and your durability in this game doesn't come from your toughness value or your save or any of that. I mean, obviously you got units that last longer.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't shoot the unit, then the save and stuff doesn't matter.
Well, not necessarily even that, but if you pump a bunch of damage into a unit, most of the time if you've got a load of damage and you've got enough to kill like a big unit of 10,
the unit's dead.
Which obviously you don't now. Unit's dead.
Yeah.
Now, if I pump that same amount of firepower into a unit of 5 Howling Banshees running across the board, it's the same result,
still dead,
right?
yes.
Yeah. So, with the Eldar, it doesn't necessarily matter about putting points into that toughness value, because all you're doing is soaking more shots. You might as well just go do your job, hit something really hard, and then just carry on as you were.
That's the issue with like the detachment rules and the 40k rules, where you have if I have taken any damage, I get my detachment rule. Like that doesn't happen in 40k at the moment. Like you pick a unit and you kill it.
And it dies. Yeah. I mean, I've got an Autotype Skyrunner, right? Or an Autotype Wayleaper, right?
Yep.
One of the most efficient units in the game. It's gone up 35 points, by the way. I'll probably still take one. But it doesn't matter if that auto way leaper is toughness 5 2+ save or toughness 3 3-up save. It's got lone operative.
Yes.
You're either shooting it or you're not.
Yes.
Right? And it's probably going to die regardless. So
Yeah.
I might as well just.
And if you are shooting at it, you're shooting at it with something that's going to kill it.
Yeah. And the toughness example is one part of it. That everything else is just a larger conversation about waste. I'm not putting points into something that's a jack of all trades because I don't need it to be a jack of all trades. It needs to do a thing, right? And it does the thing, which is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
The Incarn's still massively impressive. I mean, it's 350 points now. It's gone up 80 points, but it does a job. If I can waste 20% of my opponent's shooting in one game while firing it with one Incarn because you have to put your entire army towards the Incarn, yeah, it's probably that might be useful in certain situations. But even then, like, I'm probably not going to waste one turn. I'm going to waste multiple because I'm also dictating your movement, right?
Yes.
So Eldar in general are really, really difficult to balance because of this issue, but at the same time, it's not like Knights or Tau where it's just are your numbers big enough, right? It's more than that. Right?
I think they've historically have always been very, very difficult to balance, and they keep having this insistence on the kind of the fate dice seeing into the future mechanic, and it just being so oppressive.
But even before the fate dice mechanic, I mean, we can go back as far as we've both been playing, and you'll find broken Eldar lists all over the place, won't you? Like, you can go back to 3rd edition and find Rangers spam. You can go back and find Mechar in 4th edition. I mean, it's a lot, right? It's a lot. Obviously, a lot of units have gone up, but
so for context for how much everything has gone up, I have found. Well, I've not found. I've got. So this is Manny's Eldar list, which he took to WTC. So he took to the World Team Championships, and obviously Manny is renowned for taking very, very skew lists. So this
Manny,
is
like taking an army that it runs into your face, and either you kill it or you don't.
Yes. So it's just an ultimate stat check on one direction, and this is like 2 Wraith Knights, an Avatar of Cain, 10 Wraith Guard, and bits.
Specifically, it's important. No, it's important to talk about Farseers because the Farseers give up -1 toughness.
Yes.
And this is why the Farseers are really, really important because you look at the Farseer cost right now. Let's have a look at it. Farseer Sky run 90 points. Okay, Farseer Basic 80 points. If the Farseer only gave me -1 to wound on a 2+ on one of my units for that army, and didn't give you the fate dice, you'd still take it.
You'd still take it. Yep.
Because it provides that value. If it only gave you the fate dice and didn't give you the -1 or the -1 to wound, you probably also still take it.
Yes, but it gives you both, and you can have 2 of them that come back to life.
So you're talking about, I mean, that is one where it's like it's doing 2 things. You don't need to pay for the inefficiency, but in that case, it's like, well, I mean, Manny is specifically taking it there for the -1 to wound, right?
Yeah.
And then the fate dice is just a nice bonus.
Yeah.
Right, and he's still got that. He's still got that.
Yeah.
Do you want to hit him with how many points that went up by? And then I've got some extra information to add to that.
So this list has gone up 220 points. That's it.
So, Adam Ryland's demon list.
Yep.
So, plays for Team Wales. He didn't even take demons. He took. Did he take Chaos Space Marines or Thousand Suns instead? I can't remember. I wasn't paying attention. But either way, they decided not to take that and take some Chaos Space Marines or Thousand Suns instead, right? Adam's demon list, but wasn't good enough for the team, also went up 220 points.
Oh my word! See, that's the issue with this is that it's gone up 220 points. So what do? You drop a Wraith Knight and stick a Fire Prism in there. Like, it's effectively the same thing.
One Fire Prism is ass, you take 2.
Yeah.
But it's like you still achieve the same thing. Right?
Yeah.
It's like you points off somewhere, but or even you just drop a Wraith Knight and you take some like other garbage. It doesn't really matter. Or even I think you just drop a Wraith Guard.
I mean, that specific list. Sorry, not Pacific. That specific list. I've just done the one thing that people. I laugh at people to do that. Yeah, Pacific. But you just build another list, right? You just go. Oh, I'm just going to take all the. I'll take all the Aspect Warriors.
Yep, absolutely. I'm not entirely sure why like Night Spear is still in here, considering I physically can't buy his model. But anyway.
Oh, I picked him up. I've managed to get one off eBay. So I have a dark Eldari force to go with my Drakari. So all my Eldar, I've got Drakari add-ons on. But I managed to pick up an Illic. So I have one of those.
The one thing I'm confused about here is I'm not entirely sure why the Void Weaver's gone up 25 points.
Because it was used in every single tournament list. What?
But why? Like, is it good? I mean, I'm sure.
I've no idea. I don't think I've ever seen it on the table.
Like, But this is my point about you're addressing a symptom and you're not addressing the disease. Like, no
Yeah.
one's really hit the Farseer. The Farseer's gone up a little bit in terms of points, but it doesn't really change anything. You still take the Farseer. All it's doing is making take other units away elsewhere because the Farseer is so pivotal to what you do.
Oh dear.
But and we were talking about the Yunkan earlier. If you understand why LR are winning games and why units are good, then you hit them very differently to how you have, rather than just increasing points across the board.
Yeah. I mean, you can no longer do the night spinner shooting at. Oh no, you can, can't you? Because that one has. Yeah, the night. Sorry, yeah, indirect hasn't been.
Sorry about that, because you can't. Oh wait.
Yeah, sorry, I'm getting I'm getting rules mixed up again now. So yeah, the night spinner can still like just yeet the Yinkan across the battlefield.
Wait, hold on. Oh, I mean, yeah. All the Wraith Knight does it for you.
Yeah, or the Wraith Knight can do it. It's not as effective now because towering has changed a little bit.
I mean, it doesn't really
The Wraith
matter.
Knight's got a
you're such a big model, like, and you're not trying to kill an entire unit of little dudes. I mean, the issue isn't necessarily towering; it's devastating wounds.
Yeah.
But if you've got a target where you can hit that, it's like fine. But
Wow.
you know, and even man, just having it as a threat there, it's just annoying. Like, you know.
So do you think, okay, so the question then, do you think the Eldar build that we have seen, like this kind of Eldar build, do you think that's going to change anything now, or are we going to see people kind of exploring and going a different direction?
I think it's still fine, but I think you always see people exploring with Eldar because there's so much depth. I mean, we were talking off air about how I mean, we've already gone through MSU like 4 times already, but I think there are so many builds that you can do where you just got you pull away from the devastating wounds. I think the towering change is kind of annoying for Wraith Knights because they are absolutely awful in melee.
Yes.
So if you push them up and they get tagged, it's like, well, I mean, at least I still get to shoot my guns at you, but I mean, the devastating wound being removed from that is massive, but you also blast, so you can't actually shoot things on your heels. So if you do get tagged up, you've got a massive issue there, right? Because you can't really clear yourself out of combat.
Yeah.
And it's a problem. So the towering could cause an issue depending upon the terrain that you're on. Because you don't really want to be pushing them up. That's why the Avatar was so useful because it helps you like clear the way, which is good.
Yes, and he's gone up 100 and... What's he gone up?
Provides some counter charge. He's gone up, so he is now...
He's gone up 60 points?
I'll just double check.
40 points.
He's gone up, 40 points. Which is...
It's like putting something up that was in this army list, certain number of points, just means that you take those points away from something else and you keep the list.
I'm genuinely curious if you drop... So I might try just dropping both my Wraith Knights, because I own 2. Like,
yeah.
You know, I didn't buy them for this broken garbage.
You've had them before.
I brought them for the 6th edition broken Wraith Knight.
Back when they were broken in 6th, yeah. Oh dear.
Yeah. So I wonder if you just I wonder if you take the Incarn, the Avatar, and take 2 Farseers. And then you take
drop the Wraith Guard, drop the Wraith Knight, and then go MSU everywhere else.
I think maybe keep the Wraith Guard as well. To be honest, probably keep those. I'm going to go for that kind of long range.
Have Harlequins dropped? Harlequins.
No, they've gone up. Harlequins gone up. So
yeah, they have, haven't they? Yeah.
Gone up. The where's the troop squad? Harlequin troop.
The troop master hasn't.
No, I can't. Well, whatever. We were talking about MSU Eldar as well, though. You could probably do that. Probably cool.
Yeah.
Give it a try.
I think you could just take all the aspect warriors, stick all the aspect warriors in a list, add a little bit of extra stuff, and see where that gets you.
Even if you're feeling super spicy, just go full hero hammer.
Just take all the Phoenix Lords.
You take 3 Autarch Way Leapers, take 3 Autarch Sky Runners.
Death Jester, Solitaire.
Yeah, exactly.
Activation lock the enemy. Wow.
The young is back in action. Stick it in a Falcon, see who dies on the explosion.
Oh my word. Forge World points. Oh, the Hornet has gone up to 100 points. Oh yeah, how much is a War Walker now? Come on, make me cry.
Right?
Make me cry. 110.
From 95 to 110.
15 points.
What are the Wasp ones called?
The Wasp is down. I don't think... No, actually, I think the Wasp has gone to Legends.
Ah, fair. Understandable. The Attack also went up 50 points, which is more than the normal Wraith Knight went up, but they kind of had to pull it along, didn't they? Lynx has gone up.
Lynx has gone up to... Lynx is still a bargain at 180. Hornet at 100. Two Bright Lancers for 100 points. Would you take that?
Yeah, the Shadow Spectres went up as well. I mean, I don't know who was taking the Exarch already. It's gone up from plus 20 points to plus 30 points. Okay.
Oh my word! Yeah.
I mean,
95 points for 5 Shadow Spectres.
I'm not painting them. Well, they'll stay there. Yeah, I mean, Shadow Spectres are one of those units that if you want to go MSU, you really need to go Shadow Spectres because they're really, really good at it. They have their own inbuilt fire and fade, which is absolutely lovely.
Yeah.
I think 95 points for 5 of those is still a bargain, to be honest.
Yeah, we'll check and see how much the Drakari one is, the Scourge, and see if they are still way more expensive than Shadow Spectres for the same platform. Not that I'm bitter.
You do the Agents of the Imperium, I'll have a scroll down, alright?
Agents of the Imperium, Calidus Assassin. So you can no longer... you can't now vect all stratagems, it's now only certain stratagems. But it's gone down in points, yay! Exaction Squad has gone up, that's gone up to 110.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so the Exaction Squad used to be 35 points for 5, now it is 110 points for 10, which now means that you just take Voidsman at Arms for 50 points. So, I mean, that's absolutely fine. They've just taken Exaction Squad out of the game.
Any more on Agents of the Imperium, Chris? I can't actually see the page.
There's nothing in there. That's it.
Okay,
absolutely
nothing.
nothing.
The lowdown on what Scourges very quickly.
Oh, go on then.
So they've had a points change.
Go on.
They've gone down.
To
110.
Oh my god.
They're still 15 points more.
Still 50 points more expensive for the Shadow Spectres. Unreal.
Hey, you've got Power from Pain, man. Stop crying.
Yeah, we get to re-roll everything.
Congratulations.
Right, so Astra Militarum. Now, correct me. Has there been a change to indirect fire? I'm lost now. Is there a change to indirect fire? I can't remember going through it, but I seem to... No, there isn't, is there? There is not... Okay, so there's no change to indirect fire at all.
I mean, I feel like just send everyone to Mordian Glory's channel and watch him flip out about this, and you probably get correct point.
Yeah.
But
so everything... It looks like everything's gone up.
What they did to the Manticore!
Where's the Manticore? Where's the Manticore?
It's gone up from 125 points to 150. And it went up last time too. Tim's gonna be so mad.
Basilisk.
Oh no.
Basilisk hasn't changed.
No, alright, so Baneblade's gone up. No, Baneblade's gone down.
Baneblade's gone down. Baneblade's gone down. 480. I mean, that's a very expensive. Oh, sorry, I'm clicking way too much.
You could take 4 of those things. It's fine. You know, 80 points to spend at HQ. You sorted.
Baneblade's gone down 35 points. Oh my word.
Wait,
Valkyrie. The Baneblade's gone down 35.
It's gone down more than that, hasn't it? It was 540 and now it's 480.
It was
60 points.
Oh, sorry. Baneblade, yeah, 540. Yes.
Oh,
sorry, I was looking at the Bane sword.
Yeah, disgusting. Honestly.
Okay, so
I don't really care about Guard, mate. To be perfectly honest.
Yeah, go and watch Mordian Glory. Like Tom said.
I mean, he won't talk much about. I mean, he will talk a lot about Guard, but he won't actually talk a lot about Guard. If you know what I mean. He's pretty responsive in his chat. I love that guy. He's good.
Slime Marlowe. So it doesn't like Scout Sentinels, right? Let's see what the Scout Sentinels have done. Scout Sentinels are up by 10 points.
The Rogal Dawn is down.
I don't think this is going to change anything. I think you're still going to have the same car park in the backfield, boring play style.
Going to give me a very entertaining stream later on.
I'm looking forward to the stat check one with Innes.
I haven't watched Stat Check in a while, I'm afraid. I love Innes, but I haven't watched it. In fact, I love most of those guys. They're good fans.
Yeah, so Innes single-handedly improving the Death Guard win rate.
Hey. He's just copying me, bro. I was running Death Guard as well. So anyway, right?
Oh dear. So Astra Militarum, I don't think I was very excited for Astra Militarum going into 10th. I had my army all sorted out. I was ready to go, and then it came out with the most boring playstyle ever. So I'm not particularly interested in this. I think everything has gone up by points. Yeah. Down? There's a few like Lehman Russ have come down like 5 points, 10 points.
It's a Commissar 30 points.
What's 30?
Oh, he's only 35 to start with. Okay, Commissar. Does he have lone operative? I don't think he does.
No. I don't think they've got any lone operatives.
Marbo.
Oh, Marbo, yeah, he's gone up to 65. Slime Marbo. No, he's come down to 65.
Yeah, that's right. Damn right. Put him back.
Fair enough.
Earthshaker Carriage has gone up 40 points. Rapey Batteries have gone up a little bit as well. Not Yeah, it's just a bit of the indirect fire has continued to go up. Everything else continued to come down. That's pretty standard for them.
Yeah.
The Black Templars one's a lot of words.
Oh, we've got Black Templars. Where's Black Templars? Oh my word! I am not up on Black Templars at all, unfortunately.
Shall we skip it? Shall we skip it then?
Black Templars have. Let's just see whether they've gone up or down.
They've gone down.
I'm guessing they've gone down.
They have gone down. Yeah.
Yeah, they've gone down. Again, they've just gone down by 10 points. I wish... no, I don't like points going down particularly, because I like playing with fewer models on the board. Like, I think smaller armies look better. I don't like...
I'm not... Yeah, I get you. It's kind of a skirmish for the game.
Yeah. So, Black Templars...
Obviously got units and stuff, but...
So
Black Templars, maybe this will just make people find them interesting.
Can you just now run like masses Crusader squads and just hoard out Black Templars?
Chaplain Grimaldus is
125 points for 10.
Well, High Marshal Halbrecht, the Grand Space Racist, is now down to 95 points.
Primary Sword Brethren are down 25 points.
Down. Yeah, per 5, so 5 points a model.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So you can get some...
Everything across the board for them has come down, apart from
so Sword Brethren and Grimaldus in a unit, and throw them in a Redeemer. Nice little big plaque. Oh, here we go. Blood Angels, right. Where is the Sanguinary Guard?
You've been tipped off about this immediately, Lee.
175 points for 5 models. I can't even do math. What's that?
Sorry, what's going on?
175 points for 5 models, Sanguinary Guard.
35 points?
35 down to... Yeah, so they've come down from 43 or something.
No, I'm saying 35 points a model now.
Yeah. So they've dropped down a fair bit. Might be usable now. I'm guessing Death Company are even cheaper though.
I mean, they're fine. Again, just another faction that lends itself really well to MSU.
Yeah. And unfortunately, this is another Space Marine faction that lends itself to the Gladius Task Force and not the Blood Angels Task Force.
I mean, you want units that can run around by themselves and handle themselves. And these factions, like Sisters, like Blood Angels, have lots of units that have a similar profile. Like Sanguinary Guard and Death Company, there's a reason there's a debate between the two. You can just take both. They can both just run around, do their own thing, and if they die, they die, and who cares? Yeah. Sisters have a similar thing, and you typically want lots of movement, not relying upon buffs. Decent basic stat line. They're good.
Yeah, they need to be self-sufficient, don't they?
Yeah. I think
Sanguinor 140 points, absolute bargain.
Yep.
Should be interesting. Yeah, it's good. I'm waiting for a new model for the Sanguinor. Do a massive new model.
The old model, bro. I like
the old model's cool, but like imagine a new one.
Yeah.
Right.
Decent.
Next one, Chaos Demons.
Yeah, this is confusing to me.
So this is the one that you say has gone up the same amount as Eldar on that list.
Mainly because it was big units. So, for example, Balakor went up 25 points here. The Great Unclean War's gone down, but it doesn't really matter too much. The Lord
I don't think I ever saw him on a list.
Went from 230. Yeah, you didn't really... I mean, I think the Romanians took one...
What the hell has Karanak gone up?
World. I don't know, mate. I've just sprayed my old Karanak with his new base. I'm like, oh, great, yeah, cheers. But no, the points increase is specifically targeting this Bellicor list. So the typical version you'd see is Bellicor, not Nakari. What's the name of Shalaxi? There you go.
Shalaxi, yep.
Shalaxi, 3 Lords of Change, and then like a Fate Weaver or something, so you can increase all your stuff, and all that's pretty much gone up, right? You'd also occasionally see a couple of variants where you'd have fewer big models, and then you'd have a couple of little corn loan operative characters.
Slaxi's gone up 50 points.
Yeah, no surprise. She was already expensive, but she enabled that entire list to work. Although I don't get so. This is my thing with this. She did enable that list to work, and that list was good, and it was their best list, right? But why do you need to make that list worse? If you want more variation in that book, you don't achieve it by making that list worse. Or
you
achieve it.
You make it by making the other stuff better.
You make everything else more viable.
Yeah.
Right? Because I don't think that list was specifically problematic.
No, not really. And then the Changeling, best lone op in the game, gone up to 90. It's like these kind of point changes are like almost meaningless, and like nerfing.
I don't know what the purpose of this was. someone played against Be'lakor once and he
Got salty.
shooting within 18 inches and got salty.
Yeah.
But against Be'lakor lists, you're always going to get 1 turn of shooting and that's it, right?
How many points is a Wraith Knight?
510.
510. So Shalaxi is 60 points less than a Wraith Knight.
I mean, when you put it like that, she sounds okay because she's actually really good.
Yeah, but she's not 60 points less than a Wraith Knight good.
I don't know. It's all contextual, isn't it?
I suppose.
Like, if she can touch a Wraith Knight just doesn't get to do anything. Like, you know.
You can touch a Wraith Knight with a lot of things.
I don't really like this change. I don't think that you need to hit that list. Although, maybe you did with all the rest of the other guns coming down. Like, for example, Eldar could deal with it because they shot it in 1 turn and it died. Knights could deal with it because they shot most of it in a turn and it died.
So, the issue here is, like, so you've brought Eldar down in terms of points and damage because of the devastating wounds and things like that. So you've lessened that gap. You've lessened the gap a little bit, and therefore you've got to keep an eye on the stuff that's just underneath that level. In theory, whether Games Workshop realise that or not, I don't know.
Because so, everyone just takes this. There's nothing that can kill it. Then you might as well just
That list isn't going to overrun anything because the damage of another army stopped it. Because I don't think it was running over everything else particularly. So yeah, like you say, why hit that list in particular?
I mean, I was actually testing this list. I went and did some practice games with a couple of teams before Worlds, and I was testing the Finnish Chaos Demon list there.
Yeah.
Just so they could practice against it. And one of the matchups we were really eager to play was Gene Stealer cults, because although the Gene Stealer cults don't really kill it, and they don't really hold percent of this, what we're talking about in terms of team Gene Stealer cults with things coming back being really useful. Or just in terms of blips in general, because you have a couple of unit flamers, but apart from that, you just got a couple of big lads running around. And if I have to commit a Shalaxi Hellbane to kill a unit of 5 acolytes, it's not really good economy of force, is it?
No.
Especially when I'm having to run around, So it's I'm on those boards as well, so you don't necessarily have to kill your opponent for it to win games. I'm just a bit confused. It wasn't necessarily a case of this list either auto wins or you shoot it to death in the 1 turn that you have. It's there are other ways to deal with it without killing it.
Yeah, so basically a lot of the models, like Shalaxi has gone up in points, Be'lakor has gone up in points, Scarbrand, however, has come down in points. He's dropped by 20 points. Shaleski has come down by 20. Changeling's gone up. So yeah, it's just tweaking. Maybe they're trying to bring a little bit of parity within the codex. I don't know, but
I mean, it is doing that, but I don't think it's the correct way of doing it. But we'll see.
Chaos Knights. Now, Chaos Knights were not performing as well as Imperial Knights. Games Workshop have told us this, so they've hit Imperial Knights to make Chaos Knights better.
Within the
is that how it works?
For equality, it's like that car insurance claim that went to court a few years ago, where dudes were getting charged more. So
yes. So the Carnivore has come down, but the Stalker has gone up. So I think the Chaos Knight lists that you tended to see on the table didn't have any of the big knights, and they were just the War Dogs, just 14 War Dogs.
If you compare this directly to the Chaos Knights FAQ last time, everything that didn't change points last time has changed points this time and gone slightly down.
Oh my word, it has.
And everything that did change points hasn't. The only exception is the Moirax, who's been 170 points the entire time.
Oh wow, yeah.
So they've increased the points of half the book, decreased the points of the other half of the book over 2 different patches.
So they nearly got it right first time.
I'm confused. Yeah, but
so, oh dear. So all the big hang on. So all the big knights have come down.
So last patch, all the big knights went up, and this patch, all the little knights have gone down, with the exception of a Rampager, which I believe is the Chaos Knight equivalent of a Gallant.
Yeah, the Rampager is the chargy one, isn't it?
Yeah, crap.
So he's come down, because we don't want combat. We want to shoot stuff.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how much this has kind of impacted the knights, because they haven't got the towering keyword anymore. They're not going to be shooting across the battlefield anymore.
No.
We will wait to see on that one. Chaos Space Marines. Charging across the battlefield, getting into combat, and doing ridiculous amount of damage with a Forge Fiend behind them.
Yeah, I think Chaos Marines are really. I really liked where Chaos Marines were. I mean,
yes.
It was a little bit weird how they kept stacking buffs all over the place, and it got a little bit confusing.
Yeah.
But there was some good bits in there. So there's changes all over the place here. Abaddon's gone up 30 points. Fair enough, to be honest. Abaddon
well, that's really fine because Vashtor has come down 30 points.
Three.
And you still never take him.
Vashtor enthusiasts out there, all 2 or 3 of you.
And you still never take him.
The Chaos Bikers have gone down. Line Raiders have gone down. That's my entire collection sorted. Chaos Lords still there on down. Predators are still a thing. Goodness me. Rhinos down. Spawn are down as well, but they're still only units of 2, which is the main problem with those things. A lot of the old school stuff is coming down in points, including Fabius. Wait a minute. Fabius Bile has 2 models. That doesn't.
Yeah, he gets a little dude.
No, that's not fair.
He gets a little dude. I thought he was a marker. I thought the little dude was a marker, but if he's 2 models, then he must do something as well.
I've got a second-hand Bile, but I don't have his marker, so we're gonna have to work on that one. Maybe I can convert.
Why can't I find Terminators? Oh, there they are. So Terminators haven't changed.
No.
Okay, that's fine.
I mean, they've just changed everything around the Terminators, right?
Forge Fiend has gone up 15 points, so it's 180 now. So again, that's irrelevant. You just kind of drop a little bit of chaff.
Master Possession goes up 2. Fine. I think that's
Master Possession, I don't think was really used very often.
No, I saw a few Master Possession. In fact, people were trying to get mine, the cheeky boys.
Obliterators up only 10.
Yeah,
which is
fine.
It's
10 little tweaks. I think you've got a couple of increases, a couple of decreases. Overall, it's going to be like that. Maybe
I don't think the army's going to change that much. Like the increases are just going to be eaten up by the stuff that you're going to either drop or tweak or have had a little decrease.
I mean, this is doing the frills on the edge of the dress, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's anything impactful on that one, which is good actually, because Chaos Space Marines, I think, we're in a good place in the first place anyway.
Yeah, I thought we were a very fun book, mate.
Yep.
All right, that.
Yep.
Dank Angels.
Oh no.
I don't know anything about this, so off you go.
You don't know anything about Dark Angels. Dark Angels, right, now, the Lion is just, like, obscene, so what has he gone down? He hasn't been touched, okay. So Dark Angels were Deathwing Knights and Deathwing Terminators, so they have dropped by 5 points. Why drop something by 5 points? I'm guessing it's just because it's 205 and it doesn't really add up very well, so they've made it 200 and 400.
Maybe.
Yeah.
You never know. I've not played against Dark Angels yet. I've got a lot of this stuff, but it's...
Doesn't look like there's been any kind of meaningful change again. Like everything's just dropped like 5 points, 10 points here or there. So anything like drop. So actually, Dark Angels. So all the points that have gone up or dropped down a tiny bit here will just be engulfed by your Calidus Assassin dropping points. So a lot of the Imperium stuff, if they have gone up, which they haven't really, you're just going to have like eat it with a Calidus Assassin.
Baby.
In fact, actually, talking about Dark Angels and Space Marines, one of the issues that I have with the Space Marines and Astartes and stuff is because they're all on the same body, they're all on the same chassis, they're all a Space Marine, all you're going to do is find the most efficient version of that Space Marine and take 3 units of that, which is what people were doing with the Desolators. Like, the Desolators were the most efficient unit on that chassis, and then they just take that. Like, there's no point trying to balance within the Space Marine index, codex, whatever, because there's so many units, you just find the one that's most efficient and spam 3 of them. I don't think Space Marines are interesting. I think they need to find a way of making them slightly more...
We just need more data slates that have play. I mean, you have a few, but like...
Right.
Certain roles to build them, we don't have them.
Death Guard. I'm guessing every single one of these red marks is going down.
They're all going down. There's 2 units that aren't going down. That is the Predator Annihilator. I'm assuming that's because no one owns any of them. And the Terrain Piece has also stayed the same, again, because no one owns any of it. And the Plague Surgeon.
And the Plague Surgeon hasn't moved.
The Plague Surgeon was fine. I mean, it also had that rubbish rule that didn't really do anything. But
right, so let's have a quick check on how much some of these have dropped down. So the Cultists have, I'm guessing, just dropped by 5. Mortarian's gone 325 from 325 from 370, so that's 45 point down.
325 points for a Primarch, Chris. How do you feel?
That's pretty good going, actually.
Yeah, I mean, Blightlord Terminators are still kind of... They don't really do anything.
Death Shroud 125 for 3. I mean,
Yeah.
again, they're not doing anything, but that's 3.
Yeah,
They've,
but I mean,
they've...
they force you to deal with them. You know, I feel like you could take Death Shroud. Death Shroud are fine. No problem with them at all. Plague Marines, 80 points of 5 is not bad. Like 16 points a model. Isn't it?
So combining this with their new detachment rule,
Even
which
if it's
is...
down.
I've even forgotten what their new detachment rule is. It's -1 ballistic skill or weapon skill, or
There's a reason why you forgot.
-1 AP?
What?
Is it -1 AP? What was the second one? The one that was actually good.
We reduce opponent saves by 1.
Yeah, so it was -1 AP, wasn't it? Yeah.
I mean, it's technically not a point of AP, so you can't ignore it with things like. You know,
Oh, right, yeah.
rules that ignore AP.
Yeah. So yeah, lessening the save. So if this drops, Death Guard armies 300 points, so that you can get like 2 more units in there. I mean, it'd be interesting to kind of see how much a unit, see how much a Death Guard army has actually dropped. It might make them quite interesting. Get some more.
I don't think it's the same as like Rotan levels have decreased, but I mean,
Yeah, we'll get there, I'm sure.
I mean, they don't really do anything, but there's a lot of stuff not doing anything, so it's.
Yeah, now you've just got more stuff on objectives within contagion range, not doing anything. But maybe they won't die as quick. No, they will still die at exactly the same rate. Death Watch. Well, Death Watch have been hit like horribly by the Bolter change. So if they've had any points changes, it's an absolute travesty.
They have. There's a few increases here. Oh, Spectres have gone down by 5 points per 5.
Death Watch veterans have gone up by 10.
5 points in total, so that's fine.
So,
and then it's Proteuses and the veterans have gone up.
And the bike squads have come down by 5. So I mean, they've had the most impactful change with their detachment rule anyway. So
yeah.
Okay. Sorry, Death Watch. Drakari, yay! Right. Okay. Come on. We haven't had any changes. Haven't had any changes to our rules. However, come on, give us more models.
Why is the Succubus 55 points?
Has the Succubus dropped to 55? So the Succubus is 55 points because Liv Hesperex... No, she's not.
Oh, that balls.
So the Succubus is okay. However, Lilith is like immeasurably better if you want to take witches, which you don't tend to, because they don't do anything. However, at 90 points now, maybe you do. So they've dropped 20 points for 10 models. Racks have dropped... Have they dropped to 60? Yeah, so they've gone down to 60. And where are Cabalites? Cabalites have dropped down to 110. I mean, still 110 points for Cabalites. I mean, okay, you get lots of special weapons in there. Okay, Incubi still don't do anything, so they've dropped by no points at all. Dropped by 5, but you can't put an Archon in there to make them interesting. Ravager is one of the interesting ones, so... God. Yeah, so the Ravager has been dropped by 150, has gone up in points because it's used in Ynnari. So thanks Eldar for thanks Eldar for increasing the Drakari points again.
You're welcome.
Witches dropping to 90 is interesting. They still don't really do anything, but they're a bit, maybe a bit more kind of throw out there and not worry about them. Scourges are 110. Oh, you can take Scourge in units of 10. Have you always been able to do that? Yeah, you can. Okay.
Yeah. There's just a reason you haven't checked, Chris, that's all.
Yeah, because they don't actually do that. Right, okay, so we are getting maybe 2-3 more units in here. I mean, Drakari have an issue that...
I think 3 is pushing it a bit. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe 2. So if you get 2 more units... have the Venoms dropped? Where are the Venoms? Venoms were 80, they are still 80, so they haven't actually dropped. So you're not being able to split any more units by taking more Venoms. Hellions didn't really do anything before, still don't do anything at slightly less points. I mean, I'm dying for Drakari to be good, but...
They will be. They fit this edition really well.
They're still just how many Dart Lancers can you take in 2,000 points? So
More now.
with point drops, now you can take probably 4 or 5 more Dark Lancers. So congrats.
Woo!
So Dracaria, one of those ones that we need a codex. Like there needs to be a codex to give us some different ways of playing. Because at the moment it's just flying around on the skirting around and taking secondaries and shooting the enemy with Dark Lancers. Gene Stealer cults.
I feel like this changes a bit of a kick in the teeth for Gene Stealer cults. I think the change to the coming back on rules was probably enough.
Mm-hmm.
And increasing the points of Acolyte hybrids so you start with fewer of them in the first place is a little bit.
How many points though?
I mean, it's 10 points. If you look at that as a percentage, that's decent. It's a decent.
Yeah, because you're taking like
consider
5-6 units of them.
If you increase the cost of aberrants as well by 20 points, most armies are seeing 1, maybe 2 of those as well. Nexus as well has gone up 10 points. Primus has gone up
20, which is like in the context of the army is a lot.
So I'm assuming that Gene Stealers on the mid codex will be 85 points, but here we are. The Saboteur went up 10 as well. The Neophytes went up another 10. It's just a lot of points increases, man. So it's
I mean, as a kind of like an MSU horde army, you can eat points rises by just dropping a unit off, but then you've lost that unit that you're going to be able to bring in and then effectively bring back.
I mean, as I say, I haven't played enough Gene Stealer cults this edition, but it's just I feel like you don't need to go this hard on this kind of a faction, especially when people were solving the issue anyway. But,
yes.
Yeah. But that comes from understanding when a faction can be exploited. And they don't understand their own game well enough to know that. So
I think there's a little bit of an issue with like trying to use tournament players to inform these changes a little bit. Whereas you've got to remember that some of the reasons some of these changes needed to be done was because of their uninteractivity and unenjoyability to play against. So like the Eldar are still going to be not very enjoyable to play against because they haven't changed the kind of the core issue with them.
Yeah, I think you also have to make a difference. You have to differentiate between a tournament player and a tournament player, right?
Yeah, totally.
Anyone can buy a ticket for a tournament.
Yes.
So just looking at a win rate in a tournament, saying, "Oh, this faction's good, this faction's bad," doesn't necessarily mean anything. Now, obviously, sometimes you're going to get. If people are buying tickets for tournaments, they're more likely to have played more competitively or have maybe been to
in theory
tournaments and that kind of stuff. Yeah, absolutely, and maybe that's just what they enjoy doing, and therefore play more competitive games. But it doesn't necessarily mean anything in terms of competency, right?
Yes, I mean we were talking about this before we started recording, weren't we? Like a win rate.
I like the idea, but I can spend time and I work out how to be a matchup, and I work out a really cool list that will do really well in this matchup I've been struggling with. But when the game changes like in a very hard manner every 3 months, it's difficult to do that. It's not impossible. You can. It helps if you have a very good painter on staff who'll commission paint your army for you.
Yes, that's true.
No.
But then, like the top tournament players will then kind of gravitate to the next army, and they will leave the one that's just been hit to the players who are going to struggle with it because it's just been hit.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that as a bad thing, by the way. Like if you want to do well, you just you borrow an army, you make friends, you go in, and also like you don't have to necessarily go to every tournament to try and win the entire thing. You know what I mean? Just try and do as well as you can with the army that you have, and see how well you do. Right? But at the same time, it's tricky to kind of get that balance. But of course, as you get to an end of the 3-month cycle and people are starting to get these armies out, but we do have a production meta.
Yeah.
Where they do deal with Gene Stealer cults, you're really late to the party if you're not already in that kind of core, like where you're not already thinking about how to deal with X, Y, or Z matchup, right?
Yeah. So I'm going to skip past Grey Knights. We'll wait for Andrew to come back on that one because I think he'll have lots of interesting conversations on that one. So that's Grey Knights are one of his armies, so I don't want to
one of my armies too, but
I don't want to remove that from him. I thought that would be a cool conversation.
We'll skip
have when he's back.
Have a conversation together because
I've got 4
decks of cards back there.
I think we've all got Grey Knights because I've got Grey Knights, Andrew's got Grey Knights, and now you've got Grey Knights as well.
But it's like Grey Knights and Grey Knights. I only have 4 decks of cards for armies that I intend to play, and Grey Knights are one of them.
Nice.
So you can't buy all the cards without having any money.
We'll come back to the Grey Knights in a second, everybody. Right. So Imperial Knights, however.
Well, we don't really do.
Has everything? Which way have they gone? So 475, they haven't changed. It's just Canis Rex has gone down by 30 again.
Yeah.
So I mean, where does that come from? Why is Canex Rex the same points as Shalaxi?
I mean, it's different context, right? You know.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like
Helverin 150. So Helverins have gone up 5 points and 10 points respectively on a Helverin and a Warglaive, and Canex Rex has dropped. That's it.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
unfortunately, your rules have been changed so much that it's probably going to be dead. Oh, Leagues of Votan. Right, so we find out how much of a horde of Votan we actually get now.
What Halfguard have come down by 15.5. That's
Hearthkin Warriors have come down 25 points. Pioneers, how much of the bikes come down? Oh my word, 15 points.
Everything has come down.
And everything was cheap to begin with.
Berserks have gone down 35 points. Goodness me. Okay.
Oh my word, 100 points for Berserks.
Mhm.
Hearthguard 150.
I think Berserks are really good. Well,
So, because there's not a lot of data cards in the Leagues of Votan anyway, are you just going to be max units of everything? Because I think you can almost fit all that in. Three units of Berserk, 3 units of Hearthguard.
I mean, if you're on 3 units of Max Halfguard, that's 900 points, right?
Oh, because they're 300 per 10.
Yeah. I don't think you take Land Fortress.
Nope.
No,
You can take the Sagitteur splits units, so you can split units of Hearthkin with the Sagitteur, which is good for trying to get your judgment tokens, because if you lose a unit, then you can put a judgment token on the unit that kills it, so you can split Hearthkin. Yeah, I think that, as you were saying at the beginning, it might be a viable army now because
it's going to be a tide, and either it's got the stats for it or it doesn't, and we'll see.
Interesting. It'd be interesting to write 2,000 points on that one.
There's a faction you might know a little bit about, mate.
Oh, my babies! Right, where's the obelisk? The best data sheet ever. The obelisk has not changed. It's still 325 points. Still legit, actually. 325 points.
I can't see what it's called.
Obelisk, 325 points. It's literally just called the obelisk. 325 points. Right, Ophidian Destroyers. I love Ophidian Destroyers.
Here, bro. I genuinely can't see it. Oh, it's just called obelisk. Okay,
yeah.
Cool, that's why.
Ophidian Destroyers have gone down by 10 points, which is good because they can bounce. Necron Warriors, please tell me they've gone down. Yeah, they've gone down as well. Oh my god!
It's okay, using all that to pay for your free hex.
Leech Guard have gone up, okay.
And the Leech Guard.
So the Leech Guard have gone up, but the Necron Warriors have gone down. Locust Heavy Destroyers have gone up by 5 points, I think. So
how do you feel about a 50% increase for your bins on legs?
Oh, have they gone up? Where are they? Crypto Thralls have gone up to 60 points. I mean, that's still fine.
Yeah, right.
It's still absolutely fine. It's a horribly obnoxious rule, and it slows everything down, but they're fine.
Funny,
they're great. Doomsday Arc has gone up, I'm guessing. I think that was 180 before. 185. It's gone up quite a chunk, actually. Why? Why would you do that? 25 points on the Doomsday Arc. Silent King. That's got to have dropped because nobody took the Silent King. He's just shocking. Yeah, it's dropped by 50 points. Tetrap Vault we don't care about. Where's the Transcendent Catan?
Mate, when he was the world's most glorified suicide bomber.
Transcendent Catan has gone up by 20 points. It's fine. Like, this is just like little bits of tweaking. The Necron Index is so fun to write army lists with because there's so many different directions you can go. It's fantastic. So yeah, I don't think this has had any impact at all in writing armies. I think the Leech Guard bricks that everybody's been seeing will still be around because that's the tournament standard that everybody will be copying.
Both points drops across the army, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah, it's great. It's great. Hexmark Destroyer, I'm guessing, has gone up because everybody was using that as a lone operative. Yeah, it's gone up by 10. Yeah. Absolutely fantastic. Excited. Oh, Triarch Praetorians. 120. That's probably still too expensive. They've dropped by 15, but they're still too expensive, really. One of the issues that I have with the Necron Index, and there's not many, is that you can't join many units. Like some of the units are very, very restrictive. Like you can't put anything in Triarch Praetorians, which I think is a bit of a shame, because they are sort of like the bodyguards of the Necrons. So I think you could, in the same reason that you should be able to put an Archon in a Incubi unit. I think there's an argument to be able to put a Overlord in a Triarch Praetorian unit, because then they'd actually get some play. At the moment they don't, because they don't get any rules, which is a shame. No changes to the Forge Worlds.
You know, rules that don't do anything, bro.
Yep. And interestingly, no rules changes for a Transcendent Catan having the Sempiternal Reeve. So you can still have a 4 of Feel No Pain, 4+ half damage Transcendent Catan. Thank you very much. He's just gone up to 300 points. Brilliant. Love it. Necrons, brilliant.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Before you scroll down to the next one here, Chris.
Yes.
I've got a question for you, mate. Just
yes.
look at the new one.
Oh, I've missed that. The monolith's gone down as well. Love it. Love it. Right. So what am I looking at?
Orcs, new one. Okay. Now look at the truck. And you see it's 60 points, yeah? How many points do you think it was before?
Because it's changed.
It has changed. What do you think it was
The
before?
truck is 60. Was it 50 before?
It was. So
it's gone up cheap, 10.
It's gone up 10. Which
wow.
is still really, really cheap.
It's still very cheap.
Yeah.
And then where's the Forge World truck? The big track has gone up to 90.
Yeah. So the Finns were running like 6 trucks and 6 of the mega tracks, I think.
Yep.
Just because they were so efficient for what they do. Like,
yes.
Drop me that chassis for 50 points. I'm taking it, man. Like.
Yeah, I can't remember the guy who ran it, but there was a guy in the US team at WTC who just had trays of orcs. He just had so many orcs. It was ridiculous. Just all with tanks and trucks and crazy. Right, so orcs changes. Have we gone up or down?
Generally, is it down? I think.
Gretchen have gone down 5.
No, it's generally up. The Gretchen had gone down, but everything else kind of gone up.
Hunter Rig has gone down by 20. Tank Busters down by 25.
Okay, so it looks like most things have gone down, but the Beast Boss went up by 20.
Okay, so they've just kind of trying to bring everything into parity across the codex by the looks of it.
Absolutely screwed Looters players by forcing them to take 3 spanners because no one was doing that, and they were converting more spanners to more Looters.
Who took Looters anyway?
I mean, people who like to fall for baits in 8th edition.
Did the Flash Gits get hit? Flash Gits haven't got hit, so they're exactly the same, so they're still
Looters
good.
are a lot cheaper, yeah, you know.
I think orcs are good. I think they're in a good place. I think they'll be all right.
Very sad.
Your infamous Met guns.
My infamous Met guns. I've heard
55 points for a Met gun. You can't take. How many have you got? 18. Can't take 18 anymore.
No, it's fine. I have to use them as some Imperial Guard ordnance or something. It'll be fine.
Hey, Andrew's back. Hello, Andrew. Welcome back, dude. Let me bring you back on. Where are you?
How's it going?
Shall we go back to the Grey Knights, Chris?
Yes, we've saved one for you, mate. We've saved one for you.
Oh, did you say Grey Knights for me? That's very generous.
There you are. There we go. Right, let's scroll back up. So we've just done orcs. Hot take on Necrons, mate. We've not changed. Like, everything's gone down apart from Leash Guard.
And Hexmark Destroyers.
And Hexmark Destroyer's gone up by like some points. My favourite Ophidian Destroyers have gone down as well, so I'm still going to be able to be bouncing around into Deep Strike. And my favourite Monolith has also gone down.
I quite like what they offer, the old Hexmark, the old Ophidians, because I think that mobility is kind of important.
Yeah, I like them. The only issue.
Teleport, I quite like them.
Yeah, the only issue with the Ophidians is they've got a slightly large base. But I think they did well against you. I maybe could have played them slightly better in positionally, but they're great. Great Necrons.
Andrew, when you get to Grey Knights, mate, take a look at Purgation squads.
Yeah, are you ready?
I'm about.
Here we go, Grey Knights.
Oh, that's such a nice change, man.
There you go.
Worth it. You get all the other points changed. That's a 55-point decrease on the Purgs.
Oh!
It's pretty. Yeah, I mean, I quite like the purgation squads.
I love the purgation. I have 3 squads at 190, but it was really annoying to me.
Interestingly, if you run the maths on like points per wound,
the
most effective points per wound damage output unit is
with the incinerators.
With the side cannons getting out of a Razorback.
Oh, yeah, with the +1.
Because the Razorback
after that, like,
yeah.
I can't be bothered
which by the way, I love Razorbacks. My teammates. My first question in any releases, what's happened to Razorbacks? They dropped 10.
They've dropped 10 points. They've gone down 10 points.
Did you play in 5th, Andrew?
Sorry?
Did you play in 5th?
I didn't. I played 2nd, and then I stopped until 8th.
You'd have loved 5th, mate. It was Razorbacks out the wazoo, mate.
Yeah, I love a Razorback. Yeah. But no, I think the purgation squads with the flamers are great.
I like them with a teleport.
And it's very good. Very, very good.
Wow.
Interceptor's gone down 25 as well.
Not that it's relevant. Grandmaster and Nemesis Dread Knight has dropped 45 points.
I don't care.
Yeah, there's loads off of Nemesis Dread Knight as well. Still
They've got to try and make them playable.
Yeah, but I do think there is these points drops create design space.
125 for 5 strike squad.
I don't know about you, Andrew, but I thought the issue with Grey Knights before these changes was that it was just a little bit too expensive and you couldn't quite get everything that you needed in. Whereas now
and the weird thing was, because you couldn't get everything in, arguably the best solution was the kind of Harpshire approach with 2 or 3 big blobs of Terminators.
So I was running 1 squad of Paladins and 1 squad of 10 Terminators. I don't know what Harpster was using because I wasn't looking at his list.
So 1 squad of Paladins, 2 squads of Terminators, and then bouncing, just constantly bouncing.
Yeah, well, that was a similar idea for me as well, because I felt like the Paladin upgrade for the Terminators was better than the double Terminator because it forces your opponent to commit more than you actually would have to for a Terminator squad. And so when you bounce, you're actively baiting more than you are with a double Terminator.
Yeah, and also the with the Brother Captain giving sustained hits on a squad with 6 side cannons, it's not bad either. You know, in terms of rate of fire. So I think, I think it's interesting.
Yeah, I'm just going to quickly update my Grey Knight list and see.
Yeah, do it.
Mine's dropped quite a lot.
How do I update on iPhone? Damn it.
I don't know because mine's still not. My app still hasn't updated either. It refuses to say that there's an update due.
140,000 in the app.
But yeah, it'd be interesting. Strike squads at 125 for 5, Andrew. Are they getting pointed to interest there?
All right. Oh, he's gone.
Oh, Andrew's dropped again. He'll be back in a second.
Right, let me just. While we're working out, we can edit this out. It's fine.
He keeps throwing me out.
That's all right. And we're just saying about strike squads. 125 for 5 for the strike squads. Sticky objectives, of course.
125 for 5 is nice. Even, but 250 for 10 as well. And I think there is a game of strike spam that's actually. There comes a point when enough 2+ save Marines on a board becomes a power in its own right, I think. So I think there's a few.
Well, I mean, 40 strike squads for 1,000 points, and then other stuff.
Yeah.
Where are the intercepts?
60 for
Interceptors.
1,500 is it's not bad.
Yeah, it's not pushing the update for me, but I have enough in here that's already gone down points. So, for example, I have 1 Grandmaster with the Sigil of Excellence. So Grandmaster has gone down 95 points from
115, so he's gone down 20. So you got 20 in your pocket there.
I've only got 1 squad of strikes. They were 135, and now the strikes.
So that's 30 saved.
Another 30. I've got 3 squads of 5 interceptors, but I'll increase that later on. So 160 now down to 135. So that's 25 points saved on each. So 75 saved there.
So that's another strike squad already.
1 Dread Knight because I like griefing. Hey, this is why you don't copy. Yeah, saves me 40 points.
That's 30 points straight off the bat.
Yeah. I mean, it might just be one of those. We'll just drop it. Paladins are in there as well, so that's another 60 points saved.
Oh my word, that's 200.
That's 2 squads of Purgs, so that's another 55, so 110 points saved.
Shit, 310. Okay, keep going.
And I've got a Calidus.
Oh wow. So 345 points. Your army's gone down 345 points.
Yeah, so that is going to be more interceptors and more Purg.
You like your interceptors?
It's just
Yeah, bro, it's
Yes,
so
I-
fucking sick, dude.
They're fast.
Yeah, I mean, like when you've got that, and when you've got the sigil, so you can drop the 3 squads of purgations like across the board, and then you've got the paladins as well, that just drop down, and then the moment you either fully commit to them, in which case I'm going to jump out of the way, or you don't, and there's no way you're dealing with them, which is why I like them over the Terminators, just for one squad. Like
It's
insane,
gonna be a really interesting kind of Grey Knight build now, because rather than bouncing and leaving your enemy with no target. I know, yes, but like it's evolved even further now. So now rather than bouncing out and leaving your enemy with no targets, you're now bouncing out and leaving stuff on the board as well. That's going to pressure them as well.
You'd probably drop the Nemesis Dreadnought as well. I mean, it's kind of garbage anyway. It was mainly a meme. But it's like, you know, like it was mainly because I've got like 200 odd points to spend. Something else. I put it.
Land Raiders.
I joked recently like, oh, I'd love it if I'll be happy if my current army lets me get a free Land Raider Redeemer. It almost does.
And it does.
What do you want?
260 for a Land Raider Redeemer.
As far as you're concerned, like, you just buying it because it's a bigger Razorback.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's just a big Razorback. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, sounds sorted.
Oh, I still lament the loss of the Grey Knight specific Razorback with the side cannon on the back.
Yeah. That's cool. Nice.
So, yeah, I just think you look at these points drops, and I like the fact that it gives you more tools, but doesn't give you enhanced lethality, which I think would have broken the faction a bit.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think it's a good balance.
We saw that with Psychic Awakening.
Yeah.
Like, so the Psychic Awakening book dropping, and then I was playing that, and it was just like, I didn't even go for like the double paladin, I just went for full like glass cannon, hit like a boss build.
That was the hardest matchup I had in one of the tournaments when I came up. The final game was Grey Knights.
You played against it, and I looked at that and said, like, if he beats you, if he doesn't beat you, he's griefing.
Yeah, that was horrid.
And then he was giga shit, so you beat him.
He tried every single.
Giga salty.
Yeah, well. He was giga salty.
It certainly doesn't offend me as much as that dog shit gameplay does. Holy shit!
Oh dear.
Necrons with that army.
I just played the shit out of my Necron list. Shush.
I mean, I'm sure you did. Right? I mean, you just played the shit out of all you.
He should have beaten me. Yeah, he should have beaten me. He played a lot of misplays.
In a horrendous manner. Like, you should still lose. You did. But anyway, it is what it is.
Right, from one power armor army to the lesser power armor army, Space Marines.
Ignore the Space Marine book, to be honest, because we've already been through this. It's Codex Desolators and the Desolators.
Yeah.
Like,
So, Andrew, while you were off, I was saying that one of my issues with Space Marines is that because they're all on the same chassis, like everything is on a Space Marine body, you literally just go through the index, you find the most efficient version of that Space Marine body and spam it. And I don't think it's interactive. I don't think it's interesting. I don't think you can have an interesting Space Marine build at the moment. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I think it depends on. I suppose it depends on your definition of interesting, but I don't think. I think Tom was saying this earlier as well. There's this sort of strapping bodies onto a apothecary with, because actually, it's considered interesting that could now be aggressors. That's not that interesting.
Yes.
I don't know what about it.
I mean, there was a Space Wolf.
6 aggressors and an apothecary is great. And have aggressors changed? I don't know. Some of that.
Aggressors have gone down 10
There's
points.
2 pages. There's 2 pages.
Yeah, it's just I'm just not interested in it. It's like there's somebody played a Space Wolf army the other day, and it was like Space Wolf army the other day, and it was Space Marines basically. It was aggressors and a biologist, and then 1 unit of Thunder Cavalry. Like,
I mean, we're in a similar position, by the way. Is there anything that Space Marines do that another version of Space Marines doesn't do better?
Yeah, I suppose.
You say you're playing Space Marines. Imagine if it had been vanilla. Holy shit.
I think that I do think that the fact that Desolators have now gone, it's amazing how many Space Marines you can buy with the points that you would have spent on Desolators.
That's true. That's true.
A bit of design interest in whatever the next solution is.
It does.
I think that the recent Dark Angels lists they've already shown what the next iteration is, because people have known the Desolators are going, and it's already partially solved. So I just think think it's a bit dull.
I think.
But I do think they'll be at the bottom end of sort of good armies group.
I disagree. I think they'll be lower, bro. Like honestly, I think you're gonna. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. Obviously, I could be wrong. You could be right. It's absolutely possible.
I mean, they performed terribly at Nova.
Yeah, but Nova is a big event. Equal in America.
Gotta get the stab in there.
Andrew knows what I'm going to say.
Yeah, but it's also, you know, who brings Space Marines to a big American event?
People who love Space Marines.
You know,
who the win rate is always deceptive. Space Marines. Yeah,
and they've got their Predators and Rhinos and
like they're a good unit.
Did you hear, though,
oh, sorry, you finish.
So I was going to say the combined sort of percentage of players was almost identical between Space Marines and Eldar for the first time in a very long time.
Yes, that was quite interesting. It was 13 and 12, wasn't it? 13% Space Marines, 12% Eldar.
Yeah, there you go. So there are still good units in the Space Marine book that you can purchase with your newfound Desolator points. For example, Eradicators I think are fine. I think we're a decent unit. I think Rests are a good unit as well. I think we're a lot of decent units. But a decent unit.
But it can also just be 3 whirlwinds.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's the thing. I like the whirlwind because a few decent data slates and a few decent units doesn't a good army make, right? No. There are some examples where you do have that. For example, Necrons in 2013, they had that, right? You just take the good units and it just happens to work together really, really nicely, right? Custodians often are a similar example. But there are certain things you often need in your builds, especially when you've got a diversified win condition, right? Like in 2013, you didn't have that. You had like one mission, and then you had a First Blood, a Slave Warlord, and a Line Breaker, right? You need things like Desolators because they provide you that control, because you are able to just completely clear certain sections of the board without actually having to risk yourself. Whirlwinds are good too, not because they're necessarily points efficient for what they provide, but because that ignores line of sight is super, super important, right? So you can buy all these nice units, but you're going to be missing things that you absolutely need to make your army work into certain matchups. Because you can have all these decent units, like your Eradicators and your Aggressor and all this kind of shit. But it's not really going to matter when you just get run over by someone who's actually got a coherent win condition and who does certain things better than you do.
There's actually one interesting thing that we're missing with the Space Marines. They've got a codex coming out, haven't they? So in X amount of weeks, like the Tyranid one has just come out, or it's coming out in, as of recording, 2 days' time. So you can take a guess that the Space Marines are going to be out in 4 weeks from now. So that's going to maybe make something interesting.
Well, it's also going to remove some of the actual options that do help you play the game, because we know some of those things are getting legended that are currently
true.
Doing a lot of heavy lifting around them. Things like sniper scouts.
Yes.
That are, offering something a bit different. Gone. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. That one will be an interesting one.
It's the Space Marines are a bit sad, but I don't feel sad about it.
Yes. Yeah. I think. Do you think it's okay to have Space Marines being in this situation where it's just like people who love Space Marines can go to tournaments and you can play with your mate in your garage and have a laugh with just Space Marines doing what they do, and they've got that variety, but not particularly the variety in the playstyle?
I think it's fine, but I think equally you will find people like Innis go out and smash with them.
Yes.
But then he smashed with Death Guard last week, so.
I've spoken.
Yeah, Tom's salty about this because apparently he did it first.
I'm not salty about it, but I look at the matchups he had, and I also look at the WT scores.
He played Eldar twice.
Yeah, well, I tried to work out how the fuck he's got these scores, because you can put someone in charge of an army, but that doesn't give the army more rules unless it's TJ. So edit that out. So you can put someone in charge of an army, it doesn't give it more rules. So why has he managed to get these points? And I think a lot of the time, when you have named players playing armies, and a great example of this is Sean Leighton, right?
Yeah, totally.
You see he's playing the army, and you're instantly assuming it can do more than you're used to. So I look at the Eldar, and I see Ennis has got like 13-7 against one. I'm like...
So he talked about that. He talked about that in the latest stat check episode, and it was he basically high rolled Mortarion in turn 3.
I'm sure he did, but he still has to stand off.
Yes, true.
I'm sure he did do that, but he still has to give him the game. Like, there's still a question of who has the agency and who has the freedom to actually dictate the tempo.
Yeah.
And sometimes people just I've had people do it to me sometimes. They just give you the opportunity to win the game.
Like the Grey
So
Knight
they assume
player.
that you're going to be more. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had games where I should have lost, but people have just assumed that I know better than them, so they just let me do whatever I want.
Right, so pulling back on track again. We got Space Wolves. Space Wolf points changes. Do either of you follow Space Wolves? Are either of you interested in going?
My first competitive army, bro. Yeah.
Are they your first army? So
Yeah,
you're going to be very, very happy that where are the Thunderwolves?
I mean, I'm glad Arjak's still a person, but apart from that, we can
Arjax. Where is Thunderwolf?
Yeah, Thunderwolf Cavalry.
Thunderwolf Cavalry. They've gone down to 90 points for 3.
Great. Oh, hold it. Wait a minute. That's actually kind of good. I still don't think it's good enough to make up the massive base size. But
They're so unmovable.
yeah, they are chunky boys. Yeah, I think we skip that one.
Sky Claws. I think everything's
We
just
can
dropped down a
talk
little
about
bit.
Tau, though, 'cause I know Andrew's really eager to talk about Tau.
Oh no! Right, I'm just going to put myself on mute. Off you go, Andrew. Go. Oh hell!
So, Tau are way better than people think they are already.
Yep. Same as
Mhm.
Grey Knights, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the same with Grey Knights. It's just that the sort of there's a lot of armies that counter them.
I think there's a large field as well. There's a lot of people who play Tau.
And I think and plus there's the large field, and I think this takes things over the edge. I mean, I've already spoken to you about games I've played recently with Tau and
Yep.
against Tau because I've practiced a lot with Kyle, so
Yep.
we're involved a lot. There's a lot of Tau happening.
Which card are you playing?
Grundy, because we're
Oh,
both
okay.
up in Leeds.
Oh, you're
So,
in Leeds now. I didn't know you were in Leeds.
Yeah, I'm up in Leeds now, or near Leeds. Yeah, so it's so there's a lot of Tau, but it's a very, very limited build, to be honest. You start with 12 crisis suits, and then you either spam commanders or you have some commanders and some some tetras, a few other bits and bobs. But it's a very limited build. But in turn 3, if you manage your assets, you're shooting 140 times, you're hitting 180 times, and it's a lot of strength 8 -2 damage. And yes, you take hazardous tests, but you die less than your opponent. And that's the way you play the town. And you make use of the fact you're moving 18 inches with your crisis suits, fire and fading. You can build in a double rapid ingress. There's all sorts of things that you can do to sort of, but it's quite hard teching into the kind of crisis build. And it's good, but there's certain things that it can't beat against. It struggles against multiple. If you've got to sort of multiple small units, you can't split fire as a Tau player, which is where the commander spam sort of comes in a bit because you can shoot your commanders
again. Yeah, you get more efficient with your
but a commander will take out a unit of Marines on his own.
Takes out more than a unit of Marines.
Well, yeah, but that's all it needs to take out because you've got like 3 commanders and then another 3 commanders inside your 3 crisis squads. Like, it's a lot. But the reason why you do it is because everything else is unviable.
Mm-hmm.
It's too expensive really for what it does. Because breaches, you've got to add a Devilfish, and then that's a hugely expensive package when you could just buy another 4 crisis suits.
Yep.
And that's the problem. You always, I could just buy 4 more crisis suits. Riptides.
The internal balance.
And there's a terrible. But good units, bad pricing. There's a really good meme that I sent to Chris earlier where it's like things may look bigger in the rearview mirror, and then you look at the rearview mirror and there's 3 Riptides. It's like a classic, Tau meme. They have dropped by 55 points each. They've gone from 235 to 180. And when you look at a Riptide, the number of wounds, the armor saves, the potential damage output, the rerolls from Tetras and all that other jazz.
Yeah.
Whew, and then you get. But I imagine they put the crisis suits up. No, they dropped 5 points on.
Yeah. So a Riptide is exactly the same points as 3 crisis battle suits. So what is more efficient?
Yeah.
What is a more efficient use of a Tetra? One Riptide or 3 crisis?
Yeah, but you also have your reroll 1 bubble from Shadow Sun, who was an auto take. She dropped 40. She's gone from 140 to 40.
Oh my word!
The Cold Stars that make your crisis units tick because you go to move 18.
Yeah.
They drop 15. If you want to take solo commanders, they've dropped 20 or 15 or 10, depending on the model. I don't think it matters because now you can afford to take Riptides. Broadsides have gone from 110 to 90, 20 points each they've dropped. And they were on the edge of being useful, they're just a bit too slow.
Right.
With the speed of Riptides and other bits, bringing in through strategic reserves to get angles, your broadsides, all of a sudden they're now something you can afford. So to me, stealth suits have dropped by 15 and give you a free rapid ingress. It's the combinations.
You're almost putting pressure on firing lanes to force the enemy into other areas where the broadsides can pick out.
I can now have crisis suits go and do mission. I can have Riptides go and do mission. I can just stand on an objective with a broadside. I've got enough assets that I can play the game with units, and I can choose which units need to be active in that game, and let the units that don't need to be active go and do mission stuff.
Mistakes were made when I gave you Tau.
Yeah, I love them, but I love them because of the movement and that side of it. But I think it's really interesting. Ghost kills have dropped by 10. Ghost kills were already good.
Yeah, Ghost kills being a low knot.
Still only 65 points.
Oh yeah, where is Onvar?
Onvar's only
still that he's not
only
moved.
65 points.
Has Farsight gone down?
Again, I don't think it matters because
Farsight's not a build,
but no, still the same.
Okay.
Oh yeah, has it? Jeepers, no way, it's gone to 90 points. But yeah, that's 30 points off that. So it's so many points drops that just means that all of the compromises that you were making to just have this crisis bomb that meant your whole game was based upon this crisis bomb, you've now got a crisis bomb which has got cheaper and a whole bunch of other stuff that's also completely lethal but into different targets.
The R-Tide and the Y-Tide have both dropped down to 200 and 210 as well. I don't know whether you use either of those forward ones.
Yeah, the Taunar's gone up again, I think. I think it's gone up
Oh, the
again
Taunar's not
to
moved.
719,
Yeah, it's still 790.
Has it not moved?
No, the Taunar hasn't moved. It's the R-Vara and the Y-Vara have moved.
Yeah, they've gone like 35, 25. But I just think fundamentally, it's not that I can see. I mean, I've already written 4 different lists that I want to try, and they're all built around 12 crisis suits. But now, all of a sudden, the space around the crisis suits lets you do all sorts of different things.
Yeah,
that's what's happened. It's created design space around the crisis suit, which means that you can afford for something to not actually that's not effective in this game, but it's fine because it can just go and sit on that objective or go and charge that thing to sit on that objective because it's actually quite hard to kill. Or I think it's brought Tau into that list of armies that are going to be good.
It feels a little bit like the Grey Knight conversation that we had earlier as well. It kind of gives you that space to.
It's exactly the same.
Yeah.
The only difference with Tau is they really shoot.
Yes.
Like they shoot harder than I think they shoot as hard as anything in the game. I don't think anything stands up to a 6-man crisis blob. I really don't. I think it kills whatever you point at it.
Before we move on, can we take a moment to appreciate how good a description of the faction of it's not bad, it just has loads of terrible matchups. It is.
Yeah, but it still has a couple.
I get your point, but it's, you know what I mean.
Yeah, but it's just that those terrible matchups are unwinnable. Is what I'm trying to say. Is that there is no game into Eldar.
But that's why I also don't think that Tau should be a competitive faction either, because it's another one of those where the numbers are too big and it shoots everyone to death, or numbers are too small and they just get rolled.
I fear that the numbers just got too big.
Yeah, which is why I'd like to see them expand more into Vespid and Crew and other potential.
Yes.
There's so much potential for growth with this faction lore-wise.
But that's rules, isn't it? That's rules application rather than points application. You can't. There's no point. There's no point at which you can point Vespid where you would take them in the current rule set.
No, but that's why you need to expand the lore to give them some kind of role within the faction.
Yeah.
Right.
I think Crew at 55 have play.
Sure, but
20 points off Crew.
It doesn't determine whether you win the game or not. Like your win condition is still you kill the enemy army.
No, you can just
just
blast stuff.
Yeah,
exactly.
I am not playing your Tau army. I'm going to have to play your Tau army, aren't I? Because I'm going to have to work out how to beat it. Oh dear.
Oh, it's Necrons have a real problem with that Tau army.
I know it's horrid.
I think now when you look at Necrons, to me actually it's moved to warrior spam.
Yeah, a little bit.
When you look at the way the meta's going to shift,
I still think
warrior spam will and Tau can pick up probably two 20-man warrior squads in a turn.
In a turn, yeah, easily. I don't think without breaking a sweat.
By the way. Like with the reduction, it's not about the reduction of the Necron warriors in points per se. It's more about the decreasing the amount of opportunity of output other factions can put out. Like the change of devastating is massive for how you're going to end up dealing with Necrons, right?
Yeah.
The fact that you actually put less stuff on the board when you're playing things like Thousand Suns, which you're going to get into in a minute, playing things like Eldar, regardless of the devastating wounds, you now got more play into those factions because you don't just get immediately picked up by stupid ass demons.
I think Necrons have done really well to come out of this unscathed, pretty much.
I think Necrons are doing good. Necron. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's Tau and Aggressor squads. Are the two things that Necron warrior blobs have to fear.
Yeah.
I still think that you can deal with the aggressors though. I mean, obviously they're scary, you have to play around them, but I think if you play a matchup where it's
they're going to get close enough.
Yeah. Like you've got tools to deal with it. It's not an issue. Yeah. Well, it is an issue, but you get my point.
But the reason, and it's the last thing I'll say on Tau. The reason why I think the 6-man crisis squad is so good is because it's such a body unit. Because it moves 18 inches. It's got an 18-inch range. It fires and fades. It dictates where on the board you cannot play.
Yes.
It's another control unit. It's like Aberrant.
Its firing lines are ridiculous.
Exactly. I think that's.
And as soon as you put two of those down, you are completely covering the board. Yeah. Right, Tom.
And you may well have turn 2.
Oh, is he gone?
I'll be back in a minute.
He may well have turn 2 something. Now, Tom, this is probably why we brought you on the podcast.
If you're going to say Thousand Suns, I'm going to kick off because I don't know how to play this faction.
So Thousand Suns.
You bastard.
Thousand Suns. I don't really have a grasp on how these guys work. Andrew has said he doesn't particularly have a grasp on how these work. Tom, do you have a grasp on how these work and what these changes might mean?
Oh, hell no, but I've played against them, so I can talk about it a little bit. So Thousand Suns, I feel like Thousand Suns have the opposite problem to Death Guard. In that, if Death Guard have a bunch of rules that don't do anything...
Yes.
Thousand Suns have a bunch of rules that do...
Absolutely everything, yes.
Yeah, like the warp table where you can remove the armor save is just funny. The way I think that this book works, although obviously I'm not an expert, I've barely played it, is that you're very good at one-shotting things. Magnus, you can throw it into anything, it'll probably just one-shot it. When you've got the combo with the squad of the rubrics of the flamers, and you've got the warp table off, and you remove the armor save, you can pretty much one-shot anything there as well.
Yeah.
So they're very, very good at removing things like that, right? Like Custodies have a horrible time into this faction, right?
I think it's the Infernal Master with one of the enhancements as well, with the crazy Yahtzee gun.
When you stick that in a squad of Zangor, and you just floated around being a dickhead, and it's like, oh great.
So it was Vic, wasn't it, who wrote the really, really cool, and then the guy, one of the guys from Poland as well, who did the Thousand Suns MSU list.
I'm a washed-up boomer compared to what I used to be, so I don't really know. I don't know what Vic was running, but sure, it's absolutely fine. I might get a bit more involved this year, we'll see. But to be honest, I've quite enjoyed having a year where I didn't have to base my entire year upon going to Worlds. So it's been kind of nice just to chill. So I haven't been keeping up with the meta and stuff. But points increases, I mean, if you don't... I would prefer they do points increases than they gut the core mechanic of a faction. As I've already been with the Encounter. I'm sure there are probably ways of mitigating the core mechanic without gutting it, but also allowing it to keep the points, right? Because the moment you start increasing the points, like you might one-shot a couple of units, but if I just take, like, for example, if I were playing Thousand Suns and I'm playing against Orcs, I know it's a horrible matchup for me because they're just going to run 6 trucks at me, and I'm going to one-shot 2 trucks, and
then have 60 Orcs in front of them.
Run my army over, right?
I think the one thing that points does do in this army is limit the amount of Cabal points that you can actually get, because it was so easy to get the Cabal points.
But if you don't have the Cabal
with previous builds.
Like, so here we have a situation where Thousand Suns are good into more things than they're not good into, right? Or people just don't know how to play against them. I mean, it's difficult to tell from a win rate, right? But you've got very clear lines of what's a good matchup and what's a bad matchup. And what you're doing here is you're not making the good matchups less good and the bad matchups less bad. You're just increasing the number of bad matchups. Because you are decreasing the amount of output you can actually stick on board.
Yeah. So, like, for instance, into Necrons, you're just being able to kill less Necron warriors, which ultimately is bad because we can bring them all back and then you're back to square one.
It's very important to specify what we mean by fewer Necron warriors, though, because we don't mean fewer from a unit, we mean fewer units of them. right? Because
Yeah.
if you're just going to one shot a unit, you're just going to one shot a unit. You know, you just have less of an ability to clear your lines. I feel like Thousand Suns are definitely they have benefited from people not really knowing what they're doing into them. And
They
again,
are
one of these,
incredibly tricksy army. Yeah.
yeah. Well, it's also one of those. It's like, as I've just explained, like it's about how well you one shot things, right? So if I know that this unit right, I'm going to throw my army in, I'm going to lose 2 units, but I'm going to run them over, right? I probably just do it because I'm going to win the game, right? But if I just assume that it's got loads of damage, and therefore I sit off it, and I just throw units out one by one to try and get points for me from the center of the board, right? Or just get secondaries, I'm going to be cutting off my nose to spite in the face because I'm throwing away redundancy that the Thousand Suns will not be able to kill if I just throw it all in one go.
Yeah, true.
So, I'm not sure if points increase the way to deal with Thousand Suns. I could be way off on the mark though, like probably am, to be honest. But
It doesn't look like a few. There's been a few kind of cuts, like the Thousand Suns, the Demon Princes have had cuts, but they don't really get any use. So that might bring them a bit more interesting.
Magnus going up is going to affect you. Scarab Occult's going up is going to affect you. Rubric's going up is probably going to affect you as well. Zangle Chamber is fine.
It's funny though, when you look at Vic's build,
what is Vic's build?
He kind of he was using Infernal. The popular build was Exalted Sorcerers.
Yeah,
Infernal Masters
as damage dealers.
I've seen that.
He went more Infernal Masters, more MSU, Flamers with Araman. But it was a lot more MSU, but very little chaff. Because again, he will identify what he needs for that particular matchup, and then sacrifice good units to score.
You've got no redundancy because you're basically imagine you had like an Excel spreadsheet, and you say, "Oh, I have all the matchups," right? It's like, okay, well, what does this give me in certain matches? Right? If I've got a unit in my army that's not giving me a win into X matchup or not improving my chances of victory, then why is it there? You know, especially when you're playing in teams, obviously there's a different dynamic there because you're trying to get points for your team as well as you're trying to win the game. But if you're playing singles, no, it's all good. I was just talking about like redundancy in your army and making sure that everything that you have in your army is there to improve your chance of winning certain matchup.
And I think his list was so optimized for his particular playstyle.
I hate that too.
I don't think. I know, I hate playstyle as well. The
best playstyle is whatever it is to win. I know.
Yeah, but no, he definitely sees the game a particular way and builds an army that lets him realise. His vision of the game.
Sure, and so does you see this with Manny as well. Like Manny's lists are always you just run things into your opponent's phase and hope they can't deal with them. Which, by the way, I think is probably the best way to play the game. Which is why I don't really consider it a playstyle. I just think it's what you're doing.
Yeah, you could say the same about Malak. I think Malak was always like, "What's the biggest hammer blow that I can deliver?"
So that is Vic's Thousand Suns list. So it's the 5 Rubrics, Infernal Masters, Magnus, Exalted Sorcerers, and then some bits to split and things. No Terminators.
He has to lose a lot from that list.
Yeah, that is that's a billion Cabal points.
Can't function now.
Yeah,
but he's just the Exalted Sorcerers have gone up. You know, they've gone up 10 each. There's 25 on Araman. There's 10 points on the Rubric Marines.
This doesn't exist anymore.
It's enough.
I love the cheeky changeling in there, by the way, as well. That's big.
Yeah, MVP.
The fact that you just ram him in because he's so good at it, it's just like, sound.
He's a ridiculous lone operative, yeah. But I mean, this list just doesn't exist anymore because the points have gone up so much. What's Magnus gone up by?
So he's now 440.
Yeah, so he's gone up 30 straight away.
Yeah.
But the points are distributed so evenly across it. You can't just drop a unit.
Nope.
And then if you drop a unit, it doesn't work anyway. So
yeah, you have to go with your architect.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be interesting to see what people do with it.
I think it's a shame because I quite like that kind of MSU build. The only issue was that because it's MSU, you do end up with loads of Cabal points to then play around with and optimize what you want to do in the turns. But beyond that,
and he's lost very few games with that list.
Yeah,
across singles and teams.
You'd hope so. Like,
yeah, he did really well with that.
He beat the American Orcs with it, didn't he?
He did. Yeah, he took that apart.
Did he?
Yeah, he played very well into that one.
Yeah.
And that was the matchup that the USA wanted that one as well.
Yeah, I mean, we already talked about it. Orcs should do well into Thousand Suns, but I mean, when you're running this kind of Thousand Suns build, you're very MSU and you're not focused so much on just trying 1 or 2 units. You've gone very much down the line of I'm going to have as many little units as possible and spread my damage out across your army rather than just trying to one-shot a couple of big things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, he played really well into that.
And I think the American player had just come off.
He just played Thousand Suns. Yeah, he played Thousand Suns the night before.
Again, there's Thousand Suns. Like,
yes.
Build. Yeah. And especially in teams, certain builds are built for certain matchups.
Yep.
Like I don't doubt that they built this Thousand Sun list with the idea that we were going to be able to at least take the Orcs with this, whereas most of the time you'd expect Orcs to win that matchup.
Yeah, I think Vic kind of teched out and did his research the night before that so that they could trap USA into that matchup.
But also you have to have prepped that way far in advance because obviously you expect to be playing Orcs. Like, you had to prep that at submission, and having people like Ramsey on your team to be able to help with that is and Chris as well, by the way, massively valuable.
Oh, thank you very much.
Not you.
Right, Tyranids. The new codex has come out and has already seen some changes.
We need to look at this because this is.
I don't think we need to look at this. If you want to have a look at my Tyranid codex review, then you can do. It's on my YouTube channel. There's a couple of videos down. I go through all the detachments, all the new units, and my thoughts on everything down there. So you can have a look at that. The only thing that this does is change some of the points around even further. So the Norn Assimilator and the Norn Emissary have got even further apart, which is just weird because the Norn Emissary is still the better model and it's still cheaper. So it's the typical Games Workshop thing there. No changes really. There we go. Is that the last one?
No.
Oh, no. Oh, there we go. Now, World Eaters, apparently, I've heard rumblings that World Eaters are actually a good index with good data cards. They just don't have enough of them, so maybe with a few points drops, we'll see how they are. Yeah. World Eaters.
You say points drops. A Forge Fiend has gone up, brother.
Oh, has it? Oh, that's because it's a Forge Fiend, though. Angron, where's Angron? Angron hasn't changed. Mauler Fiend.
8 bound down, that's pretty good.
8 bound must have gone down because they were ridiculously amounts.
They went down 20 on the standard and 30 on the Exalted. So 10 points a model, or 20 points for free on the standard 8 bound. Jackal's 5 points down. Corn Berserkers are down 15 points for 5. The Lord of Skulls has gone down again after going up the previous patch. Gone down 45.
Oh, they've gone down now. That's cool.
The Khan's down to 80 from 95. The Invictus is down to 140 from 155. Then you've got the Demon Prince, down slightly. Both variant. Defilers, who cares? Fucking useless unit. Halberd's down. Yeah, I mean, it's
just everything's dropped. It's interesting that the Corner Load of Skulls has come down again. If it has.
Yeah, that was already ridiculous. Why was it more expensive than everyone else?
It's because it had Titanic, so they were trying to just increase the points from having direct Titanic. That's why the purgation.
But this was hilarious because this one started at 480. It went up to 525 in the last one because it had towering and whatever, and now it's gone back down again to 400. Oh dear!
It's almost like there's not a strategy to this.
Oh, they haven't actually nerfed indirect, have they?
No. I was just saying that. I was saying that earlier.
Because I think though they have got more specific in terms of what they think the indirect problem is, and it's Desolators, guys. It's Desolators.
I kept going back to this to check, and they definitely haven't checked. Definitely haven't touched indirect.
No, they haven't.
No, but they have. I mean, they have put things like Earthshakers up, so they've put up things that mess with
are problematic.
Yeah, the Manticore's dropped up quite a bit.
Really shouldn't have been, like, they've put it back down again, which is fine.
Yeah, Manticores are still fine. They're still very playable, but the Earthshakers.
150 points a model back now, though, bro. They've gone up pretty heftily again, bro.
Yeah, I still think they're good.
That's fine. I played them. I think they flatter to deceive a lot of the time. Yeah. But their damage profile is decent. If they get line of sight, I actually think they're really good. The problem is the heavy weapons.
You know, I've found a couple of times I have played with them. You can, if you some armies, you actually use them as screen and stick them on the front line.
Yeah, you actually can. It's pretty good. Especially if you put a
really
nose on the front, mate. You get a nice big profile there, mate. It's all right.
So yeah, World Eaters I think might come out of this quite well. Corn Load of Skulls and Angron build is probably back on the table again as well.
Yeah, I'll give it a go.
Yeah.
Well, it's more of it makes it to you, I suppose, because there's more of it.
Yep.
Starting the
There's
journey.
more of it than starting.
Yeah.
So more of it will make it.
Yeah, it's a
into the song this time rather than 40. See if any of those make it across.
if more of your combat units
So
can make it into combat. There we
Not
go.
about the number of casualties, it's about the number that make it to the opposition trenches.
Absolutely.
Right, so I think that is the last index.
Which is a very ornate thing to say.
It is.
It's very grim down into the far future, isn't it?
So that's the last of the armies in terms of changes. Andrew, do you want to go through some kind of overall thoughts on or some like favourite hot picks across this? I know you love your Tau.
I think Tau are going to be good. I think Necrons will be good. I think Votan might be interesting as people discover how to use it.
Run it across the board.
Were you here when we looked at the Votan?
Yeah, it was.
No, but I've had a look.
Yeah.
Because they are very cheap. Where are they?
And we all agree that Eldar are still good, right?
Yeah, Eldar are absolutely fine. We talked a lot about the depth of the Eldar book and specialization, and I mean, obviously, you know me, I play a lot of Eldar.
So much in it.
Yeah.
You know,
What was I playing?
One of my team. One of my.
I was playing Knights, wasn't I?
One of my. You played Knights when we last played, yeah. It would have been Warhammer World.
Yeah, it was.
And I had something that couldn't stand up to Knights.
Yeah, and I ran you over with my big profiles.
Yeah,
and then I played Imperial Fit.
I think that was probably one of my favourite games to watch you play as well, Tom, when you played Knights into Nick's Gene Stealer cult at LGT.
Yeah, so many people are such pussies with Knights, man.
That was really funny. Right, now you can kill this one. Now you can kill this one.
If it made those charges turn 2, I win the game.
It's so funny.
It happens. Like, I mean, it was always unlikely I was going to win that game, so I'm not going to complain. Hey, I did pretty well.
But yeah, as you say, Andrew, Leagues of Votan, they're incredibly cheap. They're like 100 points for 5 Berserks. Anyway, yeah, that might be an interesting one to kind of track and see how they do get on in improvements.
Crons are going to be good. I have people telling me in my ear that Death Guard are going to be good. I don't know. I didn't go through the points. I don't know if they've dropped enough, but...
Where a Death Guard?
Yeah,
I don't...
People seem to think that there's a Death Guard build, but I don't necessarily see it.
There isn't, so it's...
Everything's dropped by like 10. You get an extra unit, maybe.
Yeah.
Andrew, the Death Guard build will be basically the Votan build, except Votan do it better.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
They still haven't really got a detachment rule, though. Like, they're still not using their detachment rule until at least turn 3. Unless you can get something that moves a bit quicker. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what builds come out of this. Like, this is always an interesting time. It's like the beginning of an edition when everybody's trying to work out what the meta is, and then when these balance drops happen and you can try and work out and see what kind of meta builds you can do. I hate using the word meta. So trying to work out what kind of builds you can get into to make use of all the changes is going to be interesting. So it'd be cool to see what people who actually play Death Guard can come up with this.
For what it's worth, I think if we do see MSU Eldar, I think it's going to cause Death Guard and Votan a massive problem. Of course, you're not going to be checking to build those lists anyway, but you know, whenever you get MSU, when you've got an army that likes to run across the board and try and charge stuff.
Yeah,
that.
Yeah, we're going into an MSU meta. Okay, so what army does the best MSU meta?
It's more efficient at shooting. It's more efficient at screening. You have to commit more to try and remove things off objectives. It's just,
re-rolling everything on every single unit. Yeah, Eldar. Ugh. So anyway, hopefully the Eldar have been pulled down. Biggest loser, go for it.
Biggest
Deathwatch.
Imperial Knights.
Oh, Imperial Knights. Yes.
No, Imperial Knights.
Point. It's close between Imperial Knights and Space Marines. I think it's Space Marines, but I think it's close. Yeah.
But then, like Andrew said, like the fact that the Desolators are now no longer on the table, you are saving so many points. Then we might end up with Horde Space Marines.
What are you buying for those points? You're buying things that don't do anything for you.
You've kept oaths. Well, I wonder if some of the. I wonder if there's a Blood Angels way to play.
No, but now we're not
for
talking
example,
about
some of those. Yeah, well, you still play them as.
As Gladius, yeah. You still play them as Gladius.
When I'm talking about Space Marines, I'm talking about Space Marine Codex. I'm not necessarily talking about like Blood Angels, Death Watch.
Okay. Yeah. No. Yeah. I agree. I think it's.
Yeah. I think Blood Angels at least got something.
Drakari have got a little bit cheaper as well, Andrew. So we can at least get maybe 2 extra units on the board. So we can get a few more Dark Lancers. We still didn't do anything in combat. Yeah. Anyway, right. Well, thank you very much. Unless anybody's got anything else that they want to add on to the end of this, I'm going to call it there.
I want to laugh at all the memers who were sharing memes about Eldar getting ruined for the last week. Ha.
Survived. Dodged it. Dodged a bullet.
You don't simply nerf elves, mate. That's too broken. Like, just as an archetype.
Brilliant. Yeah, well, thank you very, very much for joining me, Andrew and Tom. I have obviously been Chris Frosman as well. You can catch me on Twitch pretty much every day of the week. It's twitch.tv/Chris Frosman. And you can catch me on whatever Twitter is called at the time, and Instagram at Chris Frosman as well. Tom and Andrew, where can we find you?
It don't matter, mate.
I'm on Instagram, I suppose, ish. Warhammer 40k is my Insta, but no. Yeah, not really.
No worries.
I'm just here for the giggles, mate. I'm not plugging myself.
We'll get you back on again when something else happens. I might get you on just so that when the Necron Codex comes out, so I can spew at someone very excitedly. Look at this!
I'll smile and nod as you go on.
Right. Thank you very much, everybody, and I will see you next time. Thanks very much.